let's try that again. And with that, we're live. Hello and welcome to Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast, otherwise known as, I believe we're calling it the Dirty Cast, and that I'm okay with. Hello, welcome to another episode. It is Monday for us. I think these episodes go up on YouTube on Saturday, so if you're seeing this on YouTube, happy Saturday, or whenever you watch this. I guess it could be any day. Happy day. I'm here with some gentlemen. More may or may not join us. Hopefully will, because our DM isn't here currently. But basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a discussion on RPGs. I came up with the topic all by myself with no help at all, except for Madis, for today's episode, and I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a good one. And I think it's one that Tough Nuts will actually enjoy too. He's got some stuff he wants to contribute, and I guess kind of it was his idea to begin with. He doesn't know this, but I think it was his idea to begin with, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It definitely was, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, yeah. I love it. I love the energy. So we're gonna dive in, but before we do, let's introduce ourselves. I'll go first just to set the precedent. My name's Wrath. I play games. No, I'm just kidding. I run the stream, twitch.tv/theofficialwrath. We do a bunch of different tabletop RPGs, the Dirty Podcast on here, a bunch of stuff. So you can catch us here and on YouTube. You guys,
Brad, I feel like we need to explain again the Dirty Podcast, where that came from.
oh, probably,
Why do we call
yeah.
it that?
People are like, what? Why is it the Dirty Podcast? So we can't call it D&D. It's already taken. So Drinks and Discussions. I originally named it that because I was like, oh, D&D. But that's already taken. So my legal advisor was like, yeah, you can't do that. That's illegal. I was like, oh, fair enough. So it was actually Chison who came up with the Drinks DR Discussion DI, so dirty. And he was like, it's not great, but you're pretty dirty, so it kind of works. And I was like, yeah, all right. So now it's the Dirty Cast. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And who are these lovely gentlemen?
Well, hello there. My name is Adis. I'm a part of a couple of different things on this channel. I got the Dirty Podcast on Mondays. We got King's Crossing on Tuesdays. Some smattering of Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough in there.
Which is going to be taking over the Tuesday slot as well. They'll be
we'll
changed.
Swap that around.
Yeah,
make it a whole thing. And then I'm also in the IRL campaign hosted by Tough Nuts here.
All right,
I'm
Tough Nuts. Say all the stuff he just said.
Yeah, I do all those things.
Perfect. That was great. My name's I do all those things also. Well, not all, but most. But yeah, today we're here, and Tough Nuts, what do you got to drink? What's the drink of the day?
A tiny bit of water left. I should probably go get something else. Hold on.
Yeah, something else.
Something else.
I've got my usual, and the only important one here. Adis, what is the drink of the day?
All right, so the drink of the day is Jefferson's Ocean.
Jefferson?
Okay.
Aged at sea.
If you finish that without me getting to try some, I'm gonna be mad.
I'll also be
I'll try
mad.
not to.
You have to save it until I visit also, so I can have some. In
There'll be one for you when you get here.
5 years.
So this one is from Voyage 28. It's each one of them comes with their own little like voyage guide of where it actually went. So the thing about Jefferson's Ocean is that it's a hyper-aged bourbon. So what they do is they take the bourbon barrels and they load them onto a ship, and then they sail across the equator multiple times. And what that does is it is essentially cycling the seasons in a more rapid pace. Usually you'd have to wait a year for the cycling of the seasons to warm the temperatures up to evaporate the whiskey into the wood.
I have to stop you. I just love Wrath's face right now.
Is this for real?
He's judging you real hard here.
And so what they do...
This seems like a marketing ploy is what it seems like. This seems like an extra zero on the end of that price tag.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
yes.
we sent our brews on a brews cruise. These are fancy cruise booze.
Fancy booze cruise,
Yeah.
yes. But what that does is it speeds up the process of aging the whiskey, because whiskey aging is actually just heating up the whiskey so it evaporates and gets into the wood. And then when it cools back down, it sucks itself back out of the wood. And then that's what gives it the color and the flavoring of whatever barrel it's in. So they're speeding up that process by actually putting it onto a ship and sailing it around.
For real. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. Yeah.
There's
That's
other
crazy.
whiskeys that do similar things. Like Whistle Pig has a road stock rye or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Roadhog. Yeah.
But it's same thing. They truck it all over the U.S. You know, and they've tried different things. Like they put whiskey in warehouses and play like music that like makes it shake more, things like that. It's crazy. The things people try.
I shouldn't
to,
be
like,
surprised. That seems like some shit we would do. Like, yeah, let's play the Bee Gees, and then let's also play Skillet. Let's see which one tastes better. I can see it actually. You know what? Now I'm down. I'm like, all right, I gotta go collect them all. I gotta try the different ones.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's the big thing is like you get Jefferson's Oceans, people will go and try to find like the really good voyages, and then they'll try to collect those good voyages, and they can sell for a lot if you get a year that was a really good that had just like a really good course that aged the whiskey to the right amount.
So where did your booze go? Did it end up in like Madagascar or?
So it started in the Atlantic, and then they got a lot of fluff words in here, but it went to the Bahamas, and then it went to Manzanillo.
What sort of fluff words? Now I'm curious. What does it say?
Oh, okay. So here we go. It was
You
6 a.m. when Ocean Voyage 28 headed out
No.
on the restless seas of
You're
the Atlantic.
kidding.
The agitated ocean was steely gray, and the red sky was ominous looking in front.
While he reads this, I'm gonna go get whiskey.
You're kidding. They wrote 50 Shades of Whiskey? Like, what is
50
this?
Shades of Whiskey, yeah. The agitated ocean was steely gray, and the red sky was ominous looking in front of the tropical depression moving north out of the Bahamas. Heat and humidity continued to build as we made our way south, and the clouds threatened to rain at any moment.
Wait,
We were
hold up.
dockside.
It's literally someone's job to just ride cruises with this alcohol and just like journal. That's a great job. Like,
That's
you
a great
just get to
fucking
go
job.
on a cruise and you're just like, it's sunny outside with a chance of rain. Done for the day. Let's go
Done
skinny
for the day.
dipping. Like,
Booze.
that's awesome. That's a
Yeah.
great. I am in the wrong industry.
I know, right?
I'm over here about to talk about an RPG. I could be out riding a cruise and getting free booze.
Exactly.
This is okay. You don't need to read anymore. I've got the gist. That's insane.
You got the gist of it.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it making sense and like actually like playing a part and people really get invested in it. 100%. I could see it.
And I mean, it's always a good story to tell and I mean, what's whiskey without a story?
Yeah, that's cheers for
Jefferson's
that.
Ocean in the whiskey world, I would say is generally considered overpriced, but it's always an interesting talking point.
Yeah,
Like it's fun to have the discussion and talk about it.
and have faces like.
Yeah.
All right, and that's a great saga / transition. Speaking of cards, let's talk. You're definitely talking about that. Let's talk about RPGs. Now, I came up with this idea all by myself with no help from a decent, definitely not inspired by Tough Nuts. RPGs based on RPG based card games. This spans everywhere from trading card games like Tough Nuts.
MTG.
Yeah,
a big one.
Magic the Gathering. That's the one that you originally pitched to the group at some point, on or off camera. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was off camera, I think.
Yeah, and that goes in with like Lord of the Rings trading card games, Pokemon trading card games. Would you consider those RPGs?
Yeah, it depends on your definition of RPG, but I'd say absolutely.
How so?
At the very least, I would say it fits into the world of RPGs really well. like let's take Magic the Gathering for example.
Okay. And granted, I know nothing about Magic the Gathering, so please pitch it like a kindergarten class.
So, stepping back out of the game for a second, just high level concept, right?
Mhm.
It's developed by Wizards of the Coast, which everyone knows. They've made D&D and a lot of things famous, and Magic is old. It's been, I don't know when the alpha set came out, but it's over like 30 years old, I think now, something close to that. And so it's been around a long time, and a lot of the classic D&D, which is about as RPG as you can get, where that comes from, like the Forgotten Realms and all those worlds that they've created for all those stories, like the campaigns they've made, a lot of magic is tied to that. And same with Baldur's Gate 3, we're doing a playthrough of that. Like Magic the Gathering just recently came out with a Baldur's Gate expansion because it's the same company, same world. So there's a lot of overlap with the D&D campaigns that already exist out there. You'll find a lot of the same characters, and a lot of the same world. And like just recently, they announced they're releasing a Lord of the Rings expansion for Magic because everyone's been getting Lord of the Rings rights.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it can really expand into a lot of well-known RPG worlds. And no, like, you're not necessarily, as you're playing the game, like role playing necessarily. Like, you could argue that like maybe my deck has a knight's theme or something, and so you can imagine like I'm commanding a knight army or something. Like if you want to go that route, you can.
But then
you
your
don't have
opponent's
to.
really going to be able to beat you, and you're like, I'm the knight commander, and they're like, I know exactly what to do to beat you because now I know that you're playing all knights. I'm just guessing, but
Yeah, so those themes are in the game, but I would say it's a bit of a stretch to like most people don't think of it. I'd say as like role playing.
yeah, that's what
But
I would say they're not role playing games. So not that necessarily that I disagree with you, just a different viewpoint.
Yeah,
I would say they're not, and the reason why, granted, Magic, I have no knowledge of, so I can't pull on that one. The two that I would really relate to is Lord of the Rings, because I played a lot of not recently, so it's probably changed a lot, but back in the day, had a lot of the Lord of the Rings trading card game, learned a lot about it, played it, had a lot of fun with it. I think, did you get me into that, or did I get you into that? I can't remember.
you got me into that, and
Really?
it's discontinued now. Yeah, they don't make it anymore.
Oh, sad. I wonder if are they worth like a decent. I don't have mine anymore. I don't even know what happened to them, but
Yeah, I don't think so. I wish they were because I have a ton of them, but
yeah,
I think people just didn't get super into it. I don't know.
yeah, that's fair. So Lord of the Rings trading card game is the one I would relate to. I couldn't see it being a role playing game because in a role playing game, my imagining, and I think we had this. Did we ever define what a role playing game was? I think we looked up what a fantasy game was. I don't know if we ever defined what a role playing game.
Maybe in episode 1, I can't remember.
I'm gonna real quick pull up a definition. It says a game in which players take on the roles of imaginary characters who engage in adventures, typically in a particularly computerized fantasy setting overseen by a referee. Regardless of the computerized setting, referee, and blah blah blah, take on the role of imaginary characters. The only way I could see it is, yeah, say I'm playing, okay, I'm the king of Gondor and I have my Gondor deck. Or I'm the king of the elves. Do elves have kings? Do the elves have a king? Yeah, they had a king. I'm the king of the elves and I get to have an elven deck. Maybe, but that's very circumstantial and I don't think that really applies. So I would say no. However, a Pokemon trading card game, I think that one would qualify because you're playing Pokemon. That's a Pokemon battle. You're a Pokemon master, like you're a Pokemon trainer. Like that's your team that you built, and you're training them up, and you're not raising them, but I mean you're collecting the Pokemon cards just like you're capturing Pokemon. You're playing them in battle and competing against other people. You're a Pokemon trainer who's battling. I would say a Lord of the Rings trading card game, not an RPG. I would say a Pokemon trading card game could be an RPG.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion. What do you guys think?
I'd say The other caveat to Magic is depends on the format too a little bit. So Magic has different what they call formats. I think that's why I kept calling different role playing, like tabletop role playing games formats, is because I was used to Magic.
Okay.
Where they call it, I think, settings. You said in
Systems, settings.
systems
is like D&D is Savage Worlds Zweihander. Setting is like you can play D&D rules in Eberron, in Alderaan, which is my world in King's Crossing. So like that's the setting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So MTG, you've got formats, and that different formats have like different rules to play and different like cards that are allowed to be in it. One of the most popular formats and the one that I'm the biggest fan of is called Commander, or EDH, which stands for Elder Dragon Highlander. And EDH decks are unique because they can pull from almost all cards in history. And I pulled out an example. So like an EDH deck is 100 cards. And the way it works is you get one commander. So this is like an example of my commander, and you always have access to them. They don't go into your hand. Like this is what the deck's themed around.
Okay.
So this is like Omnath, Locus of Rage. This deck's based off of like getting tons of resources out and creating lots of elementals. So it's an elemental theme.
Okay. Okay.
So in that sense, like you could maybe make the argument that it's role playing. Like I am Omnath, the Elemental Lord, commanding my elemental army. It's it's probably a little more of a stretch than the Pokemon example, or
even though I mean the Pokemon is the closest I could get to it, but even that, I mean, all you do is bat. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's not like you get to go level up your Pokemon. It's not like you get to evolve that. I mean, from what I remember of playing the Pokemon trading card game, granted, maybe it's evolved since then, but I don't think you go out and level up the card. Like, the card is just the card.
Yeah, right? I agree. It's quite the stretch to imagine it as role-playing. I'm sure there's people out there that do it, but most people, it's mostly just focused on the gameplay.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, like Ian. Hold on.
No, you're good. So this, I want to transfer this, so we've discussed card games, trading card games specifically, in the RPG aspect. What, are there other card games that you could pull in and maybe argue? I mean, I don't see too many. There's War. Maybe you're like a commander, but who really would ever do that, right?
You're talking about like higher card wins.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking of Slapjack. Yeah, War, the higher card wins, you're right. Like that's the closest I could think of to get, but even that would be like, really? Like, I'm the commander, here's my army, I got a jack in my army. Like, that would be a bit much. I can't think of any, but what they did is they pulled it into video games. And there are video game RPGs that use cards as their system.
Hearthstone is what you're thinking?
Hearthstone's a big one. Would you consider Hearthstone an RPG though? Now, I've played only a little bit of Hearthstone. I have some experience, but not a lot.
So again, like, I don't know if Adam, have you played Hearthstone at all?
No, never played Hearthstone.
So the concept of Hearthstone, and this is actually an interesting point because thematically what Hearthstone is it stems from World of Warcraft actually, and going to taverns. Like the concept of Hearthstone started with World of Warcraft. It's a stone that you have, and if you use it, it teleports you back to your home, which is usually an inn.
Okay.
And the concept of Hearthstone was if two players in World of Warcraft sat down at a table while they were resting at an inn, it was a game they could play with cards. And for years I've wished they would like integrate a user interface into World of Warcraft to play Hearthstone in World of Warcraft with just random people.
I'm surprised they hadn't.
I think it'd be so fun. I wish they'd do it, but I'm sure it's complicated. I don't know. But,
or copyrighted by some rules or something. I don't know.
Well, same company though. But
developers. I don't know. I
Yeah,
have no idea.
but yeah, Hearthstone, you play as like a main character, so like, you know, Jaina the mage, or you know, Sylvanas a hunter, you know, whatever
That's
it
true.
is, and
That's
then
true. Yeah.
like you command your army or cards or whatever. So it's kind of role play, and even if you take that out of it and just say I'm a person in the world of Azeroth or in World of Warcraft, and I'm sitting down at a table with some other random dude and role playing in a tavern,
Mm-hmm.
playing a game. Like,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe.
That again, not a whole lot of experience with Warcraft here, but World of Warcraft, excuse me. But a little bit of experience with Hearthstone, and I could see that. I relate that to Gwent, which I believe is from Witcher,
Yes, it is.
and that was a game that you could sit and play with people at taverns. Same basic concept. And there was a game that came out where you could just play Gwent on Steam. And I definitely got that vibe where I'm just sitting in a tavern, hanging out, you know, having a drink, playing cards with these people that I get to, you know, challenge. And I could see that. Again, a stretch, but I could see it. Did either of you guys play Inscription?
No, I haven't.
Nope.
Okay, so Inscription, it's not a game, I haven't played it, but I did watch a full playthrough of it. Inscription is a video game that is entirely based on you play cards against it. Well, granted, I'm not super great with whatever the story was because it was very confusing to me. But basically, you're like kidnapped by this monster dude, and you're just like locked in his basement, and he's like, "You're gonna play cards with me." Like, okay. Like, basically, for you to try and escape, you have to like distract him and like beat his little challenges and stuff. And like once he's distracted, you can like search around for clues on like how to leave the room and stuff. And so very much an RPG card game. I would think. I mean, the way they built it. It's 100% an RPG. You're a guy locked in a basement challenging this monster, but you're playing cards. And then it goes into some like weird 2D like Super Mario Brothers game mode and gets really fucking confusing. And then I don't know, but basically I believe they're called deck builders. And throughout the game, you're building a stronger and stronger deck to be able to beat the boss and leave, right? There's been a couple other games like this, but Inscription's one that came out 2021, and it's pretty fresh on the mind, so that's why I brought it up. But I think that would be my pitch for probably the best RPG card game that I know of. There is one that I played recently with my friend. Oh man, what was that one called? Yeah.
So I will say,
go ahead. While I look for this.
jumping in.
Yeah.
There is actually a card game that I've heard about. I haven't played it myself, but some of my friends at work promote it as a pretty good alternative TTRPG sort of thing, and it's called Gloomhaven.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
Yeah, so it's so reading up on it a little bit, it's like there's a couple of different scenarios that you can play through. There's like a starter set, and then there's like the full set, and there's a bunch of different scenarios that you can do, kind of like an encounter that you would have during a normal D&D campaign. And it starts with everybody just with everybody having cards as to their player, as well as their player's abilities and ability cards that their player has, or that their character has, and then like they also have these objectives as far as like with like a whole retirement system for the characters throughout the game, where if the character reaches a certain goal, they'll actually be, once they finish their goal, like collect 12 bananas or something like that.
That's a great goal.
They would retire their character, so that way you don't have to keep on coming up with a new, like, why am I in this campaign every single time. It's just with the character they have like a set thing that they're supposed to be collecting or set thing that they're supposed to do, and then the rest of it's based off of just kind of like you would with a regular tabletop RPG, but using cards to like activate abilities and stuff like that, playing a hand sort of deal. So
that one actually sounds really interesting. I'd be interested maybe after we. No, either. I'd be interested in maybe after we finish like a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, before we dive into another big one like Divinity Original Sin 2 or Solasta Crown of the Magister. Before we dive into another big one, maybe we just do like a couple of playtests of a couple of different like RPGs, like Gloomhaven, like another one is Across the Obelisk is the one I was looking for. Across the Obelisk is one that we only played once because Pickles hated it. Basically, each person picks their own like character. Can't remember. There was a fighter. There was like a bard character. There's a wizard, and I think a healer, and then a couple other options, but we never unlocked them. We didn't get like far enough. And when you go into combat, have you guys ever seen? And granted, this might not be a perfect example because I've never personally played it, but Darkest Dungeon.
I don't think so.
Okay.
no.
Well, basically, when you get into combat, you're looking at a screen, right? 2D. Okay. And you have our four characters are lined up in a row. Like this guy's closest to the enemies, this guy's second closest to the enemies, and it mattered because what you did is you played cards to attack, and some cards were able to attack the first person, some cards were like you get to attack anyone in the row, or you get to shoot an arrow which could hit the guys in the back or something, right? And so it set it up like that, but it was still a card-based game to where you collected cards, or you could go to the town and like go to the market and buy better cards or whatever, or upgrade your cards to be able to do cooler effects and stats. And it actually looked kind of interesting. Pickles didn't really enjoy it. It's very fast-paced, which I didn't like. So I'd have to see if there's a way to slow it down. Basically, like when an enemy's turn went, it was just like bing, 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 and they were done. And they played all their cards, and I'm like, what did they even do? I don't know the game well enough to be like, oh, this is what they did. I'm just like sitting there like, I'm on fire, you're half dead, that person's asleep. I don't know what happened. So it'd be one that I don't know. It would be interesting to maybe try and play test a couple of different types of games in between major playthroughs. If that's something you guys would enjoy. Another option being maybe some card games. Maybe we could dabble with some Pokemon or some Magic, or see how those go. I personally think it'd be cool to dabble with some Magic the Gathering. I've never played. It's huge, and if they're coming out with Lord of the Rings stuff, that's sexy. So I wanted to ask, and we're coming up on the time, usually when Pickles joins, but I wanted to ask, how do you guys feel about games like Gwent, games like Hearthstone, where you're in the middle of a big RPG, and then you have the opportunity to take a step back, sit down, and play a game within a game? A card game, a dice game, I know in Assassin's...
Mini-games.
Yeah, mini-games. In Assassin's Creed, Valhalla? Ragnarok? What's it called? Anyways, the Viking one, which I should know. That's like it's gonna bug me. Hang on. It's called
Valheim?
No. This is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Valheim, great game as well. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they have a mini game, which now I don't remember the name of it, but it uses like runes and stuff to play. How do you guys feel about games where you're in the middle of a big RPG and you take a step back to build a deck, get better runes, get better stuff to have this mini game, and over time you build it and get better and better, such as Gwent, Hearthstone, whatever?
Personally, I love the concept, and it all comes down to how it's executed. If it feels like it was just arbitrarily tossed in as like, hey, let's just put a system in here and hope it works, and there wasn't like much thought put into it or that kind of thing, then I don't think it would land well. But if it's like actually engaging and like interesting to pursue, then I love the idea, because it's realistic, right? Like us in life, we're not always hell-bent on one goal of like, finish the main story. Like we as humans step back and take breaks and have fun. And
What?
I feel like it
I
makes it
take a step
immersive.
back and play video games?
Yes.
Never. So
Yeah.
how would you relate that to a tabletop RPG? You're in the middle of King's Crossing. You're in the middle of Mines of Phandelver. You guys get back to town. You're at the tavern, and a guy goes, "You got a deck on you?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Got some knuckle bones.
Yeah, yeah. Or you got, you get back to town, and they're like, "You ever played this?" And you're like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, you beat me, and I'll give you a simple deck."
Mhm.
Like, is bringing a mini game like that, whether it's a dice game, runes game, card game, whatever, is it worth putting time into? Because in D&D, say you've got a 3-hour session once a week to sit down and hang out with your friends, are you going to spend an hour of that time battling someone at the tavern?
Well,
I think I'm talking a lot. Adam, do you want to go?
yeah. So I think that it would be certainly interesting, but it would have to depend on the group size. If it was you sat down and you were like, all right, tonight we're going to be playing D&D, but it turns out to be just a poker game, and it's like 5 people involved with that might be fun. Or if you're playing D&D with only like 2 people and you start playing just dice the whole time, it's kind of like, if you could tie that into the story, that would be awesome. I think personally, if you were able to like intertwine that in somehow, of like, if that's like some, like the way that you have to get the next quest item is you have to beat the guy playing dice in the corner. That might be make for an interesting storytelling thing, as far as like, all right, we're playing, you guys go into the tavern, you guys see a cloaked figure in the corner playing some dice. What would you like to do? And they decide to go over and play dice, and you just start playing sixes away at the
So if that would be like to initiate it, and you're like, this guy's playing cards in the corner, figuring out a deck or something, and you're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And they're like, explain to you the game, and you're like, "Oh, you want to play?" And they teach you how to play, and if they're like, "Yeah, if you beat me, I'll give you this chalice." And
chalice.
yeah, ring.
Isabella.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you Isabella, sure. And
No, her mug.
oh, that's Addison. Izzy is the little
Addison,
girl.
yeah, okay.
I was like, whoa!
Just give you this little girl here.
Oh, Addison.
Easier
Yeah,
style.
Addison has the mug. Go watch King's Crossing. So if that was like part of the quest, like, yeah, I see. But then maybe like I pitched that in King's Crossing, and Adarag is like, I really like this card game. And so then it's not like every single person is a quest item. It's just then you have a deck and you can play against people as you go through the game, or you get to build a deck as you go throughout the game. Maybe, oh man, I'll be honest, we have an option to go to one of these 2 towns, but I've heard that this card that I really want, like this rare card, was spotted at a tavern in the town, and I'd rather go to that one. So it kind of pushes. Okay, I'm gonna push the party towards that town. Or it's like, hey, there's a convention going on in the town next door. A bunch of like card makers are showing up, and they've got all these rare cards that are only going to be sold at that event. I'm like, please, guys.
So I have a bunch of thoughts on this.
Yeah, shoot.
So one, the game developers like Hearthstone and Gwent and the Assassin's Creed one, all those, like, they have the advantage of they can introduce a new complex game because they've got an entire game to introduce it, right? And they've got resources and development to do that, and the player can spend as long as they want on it. It just adds gameplay. Whereas in D&D, like you said, you're limited.
Yeah.
Like we can only get together so much. So I think, that being said, like, it's probably advantageous to not create a super complicated new game, just because it would take too much time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first thought. Second, I think thematically, it's fantastic. Like in a role playing setting, like my mind goes to probably the OG example, or one of the classics, which is Bilbo in the cave with Golem, and it's the chapter called Riddles in the Dark, where Bilbo's lost in Moria, and he finds the ring, and that chapter is one of my favorite parts of all of Tolkien's writings, and it takes them out of this big epic adventure and just hones in on two characters that have a game of riddles, and that's what determines if Bilbo gets to survive or not. It's such a well-written chapter, and it's a classic game in a story where really it doesn't make that much sense to do, but it just creates so much character development. Like, I'd say that's like the pinnacle of examples of using something like this, of putting a mini game in a world. I just thought that was an interesting little twist.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll admit, with King's Crossing, I've thought about doing this, and I think I've even shown Adarag a just example card that I made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Adarag. Adis. I didn't show Adarag. My first thought, because I am an idiot and don't have the manpower and resources to develop an entire card game with rules and settings and all that. I'm not that skilled. I mean, I probably could come up with something over time, but it would take a while, My initial
That's
thought,
a ton of work.
yeah, I've thought about doing it. I looked into it and I was like, that's a lot. Like, it's a lot more than I thought. Like, there's balance to everything. Like, every card has to be balanced, and like, what are even the rules? How do you win? Like, blah blah. It's just a lot. And I was like, that's a lot. I'm not even no. So my initial thought was just trading cards. And it would be trading cards based on heroes in the story, characters that are in the story. And my initial thought was, the card game is going to start to develop as you guys are going around. A character you meet in the game starts drawing cards, just kind of in their free time. And if you stumble across them or like pop into the room and be like, hey, what are you doing? You see they're like drawing up these cards. And be like, oh, I'm just drawing. It wouldn't seem like much until, a month later, a year later, whatever. And then there's these trading cards of Adarag, the smuggler, and it's like, it has his bio on the back or something. Like a Marvel trading card, where it's not so much 7 power and 3 attack. It's more, hey, this is Adarag, flip it over, like a baseball trading card.
Yeah.
You flip it over and it's like, this is who they are, this is where they're from, this is what they do.
Stats.
That was my initial thought. I was like, that wouldn't be hard to bring into the game, and it would showcase like who's who. Like, oh wow, here's a trading card for this guy Grunkle. Didn't we hear about him? Like, he's got his own trading card. Isn't he in town? Like, I've got his trading card. Like, is he famous? Like, I could get an autograph. Like, I'm pretty sure he's staying at our tavern. Or like, Adarag's walking along and all of a sudden he's like, hey, wait a second. And he like picks up a trading card that's in the mud and he goes, this is my trading card. Like, I have a trading card. And it's like walked over and like super common, like not rare, good quality. He's like, what the hell? And then Nimwar finds his and it's like gold cased and like, emblazoned. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, I want to be and you gotta like, oh, well, I'm going to go out and slay a dragon. So that way my card becomes more popular and like more pricey because, the Dragon Slayer, Like, and then you
like
can
different
even
versions and stuff.
Yeah, you
The
could get
shiny
different versions. Yeah, and you could like go to a store and you're like, hey, like, I slayed this dragon. I've got the head of it to show. I want a card made showing that I did this. And they're like, oh, who are you? Oh, okay, yeah, we'll draw up a new card that's going to be better tier because you're a better tier hero now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the more power you gain as a hero, because like I said in King's Crossing, quick premise, King's Crossing is a TTRPG that I run. I DM, set in a medieval fantasy style setting, where these are some of my players. I've also got Mr. Pickles, Fred, and Shifty as players as well. So in that world, I've stated that you guys are all going to become heroes. And the way I picture heroes is it's the equivalent of Marvel to us. Well, to if Marvel was real. So like Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, like those would be heroes, right? In this world, they view adventurers as heroes. So for them, they the normal shoe shiner who's the pie cobbler or whatever, they're just a baker, they're just baking their pie, and all of a sudden, a fucking alien runs through town, and here comes Grunkle, raw, chasing after him. They're like, that's awesome, like, yeah, Grunkle, woo, and here comes Nimwar in his beep censored superpower that hasn't been revealed yet. We'll leave it at that. And they're like, woo, go Nimwar.
Does Adam know? I think you kind of know a little bit.
Maybe a little bit just from like inferences.
Yeah,
I don't know what all's been shown, so that's why I was like, I'm not gonna give away spoilers. But they're like, oh, I have his card, woo, can you sign this? And kids are coming up, they're like, Nimwar, please sign my card, I thought that would be a really cool system to implement, but I want to do it right. I don't want to botch it, because if you botch it from the beginning, it's ruined. No one's gonna like it. So I might
a couple thoughts with it.
Good, because I might think about incorporating all my players into this conversation and be like, how would you guys like to see this implemented, if at all? So please, by all means, share your thoughts.
So, first thought, I was thinking it maybe be interesting if one of the players is the one that like makes a business out of it and industrializes it. If someone wanted to. But the challenge is if you have an NPC do it, then that NPC needs to get around to meet lots of people. Otherwise, how would they know to make cards of people from other worlds and stuff? So that's a problem you'd have to solve, and I think adventurers are the easiest way I can think of to tackle that, because to introduce this character to other people and new cards.
I've got a solution for that, but I can't share it because it would be spoilers. I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yes, that is probably the first thing I thought of. I was like, that's going to be the first problem. I do have a solution for it. I will put your mind at rest in that regard. I can't really say much more than that.
Yeah, I think that it's a very interesting and like unique way to kind of show the progression of the characters, because like starting out as we're currently feeling, we're not that great at anything. So it'd be kind of neat to see as our power and fame increases, be able to see that in a physical format with these trading cards that are just out in the world that we kind of happen upon every now and then. I think that's a neat concept and a unique way to kind of show a little bit of that character progression. And going back to kind of like the way that you would have to incorporate if you wanted to turn this into some sort of game that's in the world. I think the key thing for D&D or a tabletop RPG setting is it has to be something that can be solved within 2 rounds of play. Something that's very quick to play out, not a full blown turns with trap cards and spell cards and all that sort of stuff.
That's tough because for me personally, I really enjoy deck builders. I've kind of gotten into them.
Oh yeah.
And I've thought about it, and I was like, if I was, think of this as like Gwent. I can relate to Gwent because I played a lot more Witcher than I ever did, like Hearthstone and stuff, and World of Warcraft. But in Witcher Gwent, you travel and you earn cards and you build your deck, right? And I was like, oh, I'm really invested in this. I want to go find the best cards, and I want to go to these merchants who sell the rare cards and so on and so forth. But in D&D, if I was playing and I was like, I'm going to build a great deck, I really want to go get some cool stuff and build some awesome decks so I can play against people. And then you go to play against the people and it's just, okay, roll, who got a 20? Okay, you win. And it's like, but I work so hard. you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
that's where it would be tough.
Yeah, not so much thinking about that. I was thinking of it more in the aspect of like if you're doing a game of poker or if you're doing a game of like Sixes Away or some dice game,
Mhm.
have it be something that you can like you can being a dice game in a dice world, it's something you could easily incorporate.
Yeah.
But it's something that you could also resolve within 2 or 3 goes at it. Like say like, all right, you have to beat this guy 2 times out of 3, and you have 3 hands to do it.
Yeah, my
And-
initial thought was Yahtzee. I thought Yahtzee would be the easiest game to implement into D&D.
Yeah, so
Right.
Yahtzee, but that's also another one that's a lot. It takes a while to implement. So
Right,
something
but
like Sixes Away.
say
But
you have
yeah,
3
so
turns. I mean, I get 3 rolls, they get 3 rolls, you're done. Like that's
whoever,
that's the
yeah,
game.
whoever has the highest points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I thought that
Mhm.
was one that could be. It wouldn't be because I think in Yahtzee it's a lot more extended. Like you do that multiple times. But in this one you would just like, I roll. I got okay. I'm going for 6s. I've got 2 6s. I'm gonna save those. Roll the rest again. Oh, I've got 1 more 6. I'm gonna save that. Roll the rest again. Oh, okay, that's it. I got 3 6s. But then the other person gets 4 2s. They would win because they got 4 of a kind.
yeah,
See.
yeah, something like that, or like
I thought that
Farkle
would
or
be the
something like
easiest. Yeah, Farkle. Those would be like the easiest games to implement. But I really thought the connection of a trading card doesn't have to be a game. Maybe later, eventually down the road, we could turn it into a game. But I thought just having trading cards that eventually maybe could even be worth money. Maybe you guys are really down on your luck and Nimward's like, we're stranded. We're in this new town. We just got robbed. Literally, the only thing we have left is our trading cards. We could sell them. It's not something you probably want to do, but you can make some money off them because they're worth money. Not that that's a great example, but my idea was I just wanted to add in keeping the world alive, keeping different features in the game to where it kind of brings, some more life to the world. And I thought a trading card based on people would be cool. It doesn't even have to be heroes. Maybe there's like hero cards that would be like Adorak, Nimward, Grunkle, and then maybe there's like ally cards, Adesalyn, Priestess of Inebria. Like she would get her own card because she was a key character along the hero's journey and like made a name for herself. She wasn't directly a hero, but she was involved in the story. And the artists, the creators noticed her. She was a part of their story, and she got brought into the game as a known character. So think of I'm gonna say let's go with the Pocahontas. Pocahontas, and then there was this is a terrible example. There was the blonde dude, right? Who was like
Don't know that movie.
John Smith or
Sure, yeah. So like it was Pocahontas' story, but John Smith made an appearance and people would know him. And so that's a terrible example, but he got written into the story, right? Hey, thank
Rapunzel
you so much
and
for the
Flynn.
follow. Appreciate it. Sure, I don't know who those people are, but
Can I make a suggestion for it?
yeah, absolutely.
I would suggest not only doing players and characters that our characters know. I would open it up to also characters that we haven't met yet.
Yeah,
And that could actually be, useful to help us like, oh, like this person exists. I didn't know that. Maybe I'll meet him someday.
yes,
Or,
and I've actually thought about that because it wouldn't just be people you've met unless you were the one creating the game.
Right.
That's why I was having it as an NPC. And granted, it's in my game. You guys could take over. Maybe you guys are like, oh, we could do this way better. I'm gonna design a whole printing press and create a business around this. Like, go for it.
I thought of that with Nimward.
Absolutely, you absolutely could. I'm
Adorak could
sorry.
get the
Hang on.
logistics down.
I just had someone come into the chat who came over from the YouTube.
Oh,
That's
ooh.
amazing. I've just started uploading to YouTube and no one watches. I've gotten. Oh, by the way, guys, I don't know if I told you this. We were talking about this on another episode. Someone was watching our series. I believe it was the Baldur's Gate series, and was just going through and disliking every video. but
Toys,
but they were watching him. So I was like, thanks for watching. But yeah, someone came over from the YouTube. That's amazing. Thank you. I just started uploading over there. So yeah,
welcome.
These are the guys that play in the Baldur's Gate 3. They're also in King's Crossing. So I don't know what video you came over from, but welcome. What was I talking about? Oh, if it's an NPC creating this trading card, I'll call it game, even though, whatever, you get the idea. Maybe they've met other heroes, other adventurers, or other people, and you're like, I've never, who's that? Like, wait, there's some guy named Echo who apparently can like explode and walk away from it. Like, what? Like, we gotta figure. And then maybe you're investigating a random flood in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, what? There's no water here. Why would this whole area flood? And then you come across a trading card that's for a hero who can summon water, and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential with that system.
Yeah.
So I like that more than just the characters we know, because we already have the NPC like lore sheet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That gets filled out as we meet people. But I think the trading card game would be an interesting way to introduce other characters that maybe we will never meet,
or even info on characters that you know that you didn't know. Like, oh, we have a trading card for Griff, but it also says that he, I don't know, eats aliens, and you're like, what? Yeah, I didn't know Griff ate aliens.
Yeah,
Griff doesn't eat aliens, probably, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The other thing I would say with this, for this to really land well, I think you'd have to actually make the cards. So like have images and have little descriptions that we could see versus just theater of the mind, because it would be I think I come from World of Warcraft, and my main thing there is collecting. Like, that's what I do in games. I love collections, but collections only matter if you know that there's stuff out there worth pursuing. So if you have no idea what exists, and like if I can't talk to the character that's making the game and they can say, oh yeah, I just made a new rare card, but there's only a couple of them, and some guy's already bought them. Like, if I can't know that, then I'm not as invested in collecting it, because I don't even know that there's cool stuff out there,
So yeah, I hear you. Go ahead. Are you guys looking at the stream?
Yes.
You're gonna see a card pop up, just a random one I made a while back when I was dabbling, trying to figure out like how I would make a trading card game. Like, Pickles brought up a good point. Like, most people can't read. So they'd be like, because what I did originally is I had like Nimwar, and then like this information about him, and then like attack this, defense this, blah blah blah. And Pickles was like, people can't read. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. So that's why I was changing it to runes, and like, depending on the block where your runes are and which rune it was, like it would mean something different. Obviously, you would learn that your character would learn like what the different runes mean. Which brings me back to Nimwar trying to explain his grand plans to Adarag, and Adarag going, yeah, I can't read. That was great. So, it brought me back to that. That was actually, here's Pickles, but I was just talking about you.
Woohoo.
Welcome in, Pickles.
Oh, that's strange. I'm Mr. Pickles, and I know the drill this time, so I'm just going to start rambling narcissistically about myself to introduce, right? Okay, yeah. On Saturdays, I'm on Inwell's channel. You can't see me, but my thumbs are up. On Inwell's channel, playing a lot of different genres and characters. On Sunday, I'm either playing as Grunkle the Ogre under Wrath in King's Crossing. Not physically under him. And then if we're not doing that, then I'm on top of him, and we're doing the Strange Town of Golden Ridge. And on Mondays, I'm here for the third day in a row of D&D stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's me.
Third day in a row. Yeah, I was like, no, this is like episode like 7 or something. 8, 9. Yeah, so that's Mr. Pickles. Mr. Pickles, I was just talking about, we're this episode, we've kind of been talking about card games, and actually I'd really love to get your input on this before we dive into our next segment. Card games as RPGs, do you think it's possible? And
Like,
I'll give you the preface. We're talking. So first off, we talked trading card games. Do you think it's possible for trading card games to be considered RPGs?
um, hmm. I mean, it's difficult to say, really, because not really, but at the same time, yes. Like, there's the Pokemon trading card game that they made a Game Boy game out of, and that's like, that is an RPG, I would argue. And there's stuff like Inscription, where you're playing a character technically while playing a game. Okay, I don't know why you guys are doing jazz hands at me,
I
but
brought up Pokemon, and I argued that trading card games wouldn't be like, I referenced the Lord of the Rings trading card game, and I was like, it's not an RPG. But Pokemon, I feel like it would be, because you're a Pokemon trainer. You've collected these cards; those are your Pokemon that you've captured, and you battling people. That's a role playing game. And then I brought it to card games as video games considered RPGs, and Inscription was the one I brought up. I was like, I feel like that would be my pitch for an RPG done well that is card based.
yeah, because you're
You
playing the
actually
role of a
played it, right?
character. Oh yeah, I played through it so much, and I love that game that I actually bought the physical like deck of cards.
Yeah, could you give us? I mean, I feel like I did a piss poor job because I only watched a YouTube Let's Play and I got really confused when it went like 2D, digital, weirder video game style, whatever. Could you give us a general overview of what Inscription is? Because I pitched it as a great RPG, card based.
Um, let's see. Let's just get on camera.
There you go. Welcome in,
Beautiful.
Mr. Pickles.
Not sad at all. Yeah, so Inscription is basically you're continuing a game played by somebody else, so it's the haunted video game meta narrative. Spoilers, everybody, spoilers. And so you're continuing a cursed game that somebody else has been playing, and they've gotten to the end of the game, and things are seeming like you're playing a person in a cabin that's being forced to play a card game, or else he's going to be killed. And so that's why you're playing the card game, and then you get up from the table from time to time and you can interact with the actual setting around like the cards in a very limited way. And that's just the first act. Then it starts to go into other meta narratives of like, here's videos of the guy who made the game, and it's like, okay, that's weird that he had a YouTube channel that doesn't exist. Okay.
So it kind of
Stuff
goes
like
into
that. It might
weird
exist.
mystery lore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're playing the role of a person. Well, it's like several layers deep, as I said. You're playing the role of a person playing a game somebody else has played that is about a person who's going to be killed if they don't play the game.
Yeah, that's what the
And
guy's
yeah, you're
like
trying to
trapped
figure it
in
out from each
some
perspective.
cabin. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. So I agree with you. I pitched it from trading card games to that. Two, I wanted to bring us over, and I'm kind of rushing you through our current discussion because we had an hour and some, you've got a half hour. So, bringing that to games like, I don't know how much of these you played. Did you play much of the Witcher series, Mr. Pickles?
None at all.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VIII?
I don't know. Have you played video games, where they incorporated a mini game that was some sort of like dice game, card game, something of the sort?
Wow, I gave the answer and then you gave me the question. Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII.
Okay, they have a similar idea.
They have a system where you find these cards, and it's sort of like a math game on a 3x3 grid, and you're supposed to use cards that have different numbers in each corner to like beat the other cards. Some are really weak in one corner but really strong in the other, so you use them tactically and try and cover a 3x3 grid or something and win the game, get the most points. But it'd be characters from the game, like monsters in the setting, and the god like summon characters that you can get or collect. You can also collect them in cards. And when you go to different areas in the game, you can play these card games with people. It's like really brief, just a little thing like, oh, and I beat him and now I got an extra card, or ooh, I lost and now I lost my best card. Reload.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little bit of gambling. And it's kind of fun, but very unforgiving to me. So it was kind of like cool idea, but yeah, I mean that's what I think of there.
Yeah, cool idea. Okay, so I was talking about Gwent. I loved Gwent in the Witcher series. It's a similar idea. It's a deck builder. As you go throughout the game of Witcher, you collect cards and you find cards, you buy cards, and you get to build a really cool deck that you can use when you play these mini games against these NPCs, so on and so forth. Bringing that into a tabletop RPG. Not Gwent specifically, but bringing the concept of a mini game within the game into a tabletop RPG. Is it possible? Is it fun? Is it worth it? Toughness brought up a really good point to preface all of that. In a video game, I can sit and I can play a video game for, people put in anywhere from 20 to 50 to how many hours you got in RimWorld?
Like 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 hours. Into RimWorld, maybe 3,500 hours
More than that.
into a game, right?
Right.
So you have plenty of time to take a step back, sit down, play a mini game within the game. Stardew Valley. We're talking about Stardew Valley in the chat here on the live stream. They have mini games in Stardew Valley that you can take a break from farming, meeting villagers, completing quests, dungeoneering, to go to the tavern, hang out, play a video game. Is it worth incorporating into a TTRPG where you meet maybe once a week for maybe 3 hours? Plus, you have other players there. How do you incorporate that with the other players? Maybe I'm sitting at the tavern and I'm like, oh, a deck builder. I really want to build a deck. Yeah, I'm going to work really hard on building this deck, and I'm going to sit at the tavern and challenge this guy who I see is playing the card game that I fell in love with. But I've got 3 other players who are like, yeah, we don't do that. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, is it possible?
Yes, it is possible, but there's no blanket answer for that. In the sense that you should ask your players, hey, do you like this idea for this setting? And they might be like, well, I don't know how exactly you're going to do a dark fantasy game and have like a playing card game. Does that mean everybody's literate? Like, how would they know what the cards say? Is it just symbols? It might bring in you might have to hand wave stuff with magic. Oh, it's just magic or the gods are doing this or whatever. But it really it just depends on if the players are into it. You could ask at the start of the game, anybody interested in cards, gambling, that kind of thing? And if you have a player who's like, yeah, I want to put several points into gambling because I want to have a good gambler character, you could then say, it makes sense to start building something like this to appease them. You don't pick gambler because you just want some quick money from time to time. You want it for the aesthetic, I think. Like somebody who likes to roll the dice, who takes life into their own hands. Or
good.
There's one other outcome. If it could just be one player, could be none players, but it could also be everybody. And if you had everybody, then you have a lot more free room, like Liar's Dice, to be like, okay, so here's an actual system that we can play really quick. It won't take that long because it's a mini game, obviously, but if you did find a group that was all like, yeah, we would love to be gamblers, the idea of an adventure where we can go to a casino and gather intel and then later break in and steal the diamonds, our characters might have fun with that kind of thing.
That's true. Plus, we talked about it would take a lot to build this game. To build a game, even just in general, it would take an insane amount of work. So what I've been dabbling with the thought of is bringing a trading card concept into something like King's Crossing. Not so much a game, but think of like a baseball trading card where you've got the picture of the person, their name, you flip it over, and it's like, this is who they are, information we know about them. Maybe they got like a power or abilities or affiliations, factions. Maybe they rule the Dog Pound gang, so on and so forth. Like, that would be just a trading card. And so here Grunkle's walking through town, and here comes the little kid being like, hey, I have your trading card, can you sign it? And Grunkle's like, whoa, like, I feel like that would be like a cool thing. Or you might just be like, I'm gonna eat you. Who knows? But there's that concept. Instead of putting in all the work to try and create a trading card game, just start with trading cards and see if that's even something players, one, would want to collect, but two, I think Toughnut's brought up a good idea about you could gather info. Do you want to talk about that? So I stop talking and you guys get a chance?
Yeah, I was suggesting, one of the issues is if someone, like some NPCs making this game, they'd have to have the reason to go and meet people. And the people that do that most is us, the adventurers. But so Wrath says he's got an idea for this NPC to meet people and stuff. And Wrath, I had a couple thoughts while you were talking there.
Yeah, absolutely. Send it.
I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing that a lot of people aren't literate, because you can use this to a benefit of, like, you know, separating classes a little bit, or social status, or education level. Like, you know, maybe the game is like developed for people that are upper class or educated, you know, and that doesn't mean, like, maybe someone lower level that's, you know, not literate, they might not know what all the cards say, but they can know what the cards are and know their value and, like, make money off of them or something. But not everyone has to, like, be able to read the whole card. That's just one thought I had.
Yeah.
The other thought I had.
Well, before you
is-
go on, that refers
yeah.
to Pickles. When I initially was kind of giving you the idea of the concept I have for, like, trading cards, you brought up a good point. They can't read. So having a trading card that just has all this info, the common person would be like, I don't know what this is. So that's why I came up with the runes concept, which I also showed you Pickles. So that's kind of what he's referencing.
It would still have value for those characters, though, because they could know the picture. They could probably know its worth because there's still a market. Like, there's a lot of people, like with Magic the Gathering, for example, that don't play the game at all. They have no idea what the cards do, but they invest in it because they like collecting and trading.
Yeah.
Like, so you know, most people do both a little bit, but you know, the common people that maybe can't read the card would still know the market, and, like, if they wanted to, like Adarag, for example, I'm thinking he would definitely
let's
know
point out
about
Adarag
this.
because he can't read.
Well,
The common people, huh?
Yeah.
well, he can't read, but I think he'd be all over these cards because, you know, he's a smuggler. They probably, some of them probably have a lot of value. He'd probably be really familiar with them.
This one's
In
shiny.
that sense.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
shiny.
Shiny.
No, that does make sense. I get all that. That's all fair and valid. Pickles, quick point to what you were saying about, I believe you were talking about, oh, thank you, chatbot. A quick point to, I believe you were talking about how would this game come into fruition, right? Like, how would these cards occur? And I believe Tough Nuts brought this up as well. I have a solution for this. My initial thought was an NPC would start it, and it's something that, like, you guys might meet this NPC, and they would be getting information about you guys, and maybe you, like, stumble into their room and they're drawing, and you'd be like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm just drawing. But it would be sketches of heroes or sketches of Grunkle, and it would be, like, ideas they're putting into card concept, and they're building this trading card. And so it's something that you guys can meet, and it's something that gets built over time. The other idea that Tough Nuts brought up is how it would have to be someone who's well traveled, because they would have to meet heroes from all over and, like, people from all over to get the cards. I have a solution for that. I can't give away spoilers, but there is a solution that I have thought of in that regard. So it wouldn't be specifically gods putting this into play. It would be someone in the world who you guys could interact with. And it was even brought up, you guys could sweep it out from under them. Like, you might find them designing these cards and you're like, we could do it better. And you just go make a whole business before they can copyright it. And you're like, ours now. And I believe it was Tough Nuts who was like, I might do that.
I thought of the printing press idea.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would take it over, but maybe I'd be like, hey, I could mass produce these for you.
Yeah.
Like, just give me some cut of it, you know?
There you go.
And I could do logistics.
Yeah, he can distribute. Yeah. And Grunkle can pose for his picture. My last point on this before we dive into our next segment, I was thinking if this was to come into play, whether it just be trading cards, whether it be a game, whether it be maybe even we ditch that and go for, like, a dice route or something, I think it would be worth it to get all my players, which would be Adise, Tough Nuts, Mr. Pickles, Shifty, and Fred, and have you guys give your feedback. Help build this. maybe say Fred's like, I have really no interest in that. Perfectly fine. But maybe someone like Adias is like, actually, I'm really invested in this. That would be a really cool idea. I would love his help to build it, because if I just build something, it might be like, I don't really like that after all. Like, that's not what I wanted. Whereas if we're going to build it and he's like, I would like to help with that, then you could build something that you would want to play in game. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I feel like, have we looked into like the history of trading cards and everything, real world stuff? Like, have you guys talked about it? I mean,
no. What do you mean? No.
because didn't it start in, like, the late 1800s, early 1900s, like, that they started doing baseball cards in packages with gum? And like, it was a form of advertisement to draw people to, oh, these are the people you could see at the game, kind of thing, right? But you're buying gum and then getting an advertisement. Um, and if memory serves, like, part of the boom, like, of when they became popular was much later, when they were like part of history and scarce, and people started collecting them, and then Magic the Gathering was made, and people started fine tuning what made it good. Like, my point being, you could start this as one thing and transition it into another as it becomes more popular and as distribution changes. You could have, I mean, you could have it be advertising for something. That opens up a lot of opportunities. Like, who would be advertising these heroes? Who would have the motive to send out the cards by themselves, or even like, who would add it to a product to sell? Like, who wants this information out there? Would be a question you could go down. You might just tell me your answer of, I have my things. I have an adventurers club, but I don't want a guild, sorry, but I don't want to tell you about it. No, I think it's Magic. I think it's a wizard school.
Oh, okay. I definitely have thoughts and ideas, and there is bigger factions at play. I believe this group has already met one of the factions at play. Actually, you guys have met two factions. These guys are killing it. Well, actually, you guys met a faction that Grunkle would be familiar with, the Rockcar Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Grunkle, that's where you're from. Okay, you look confused. I was like, "That's your home. That's your people."
I was trying to mute myself because I see that the thunder is coming across on my microphone a little bit.
Oh, you got a storm going on. Fun.
There's a lot of lightning.
I would like to take a real quick second. Is that Katie? Am I saying that right? I am Katie. Thank you so much for the subscription. Not only a follower, not only coming over from the YouTube channel, but now subscribe to the Twitch. That's amazing. You're just killing it. You're number one fan. There you go. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I don't know. Are we just dancing for the? Okay, whatever. We're dancing for dance for subs. No, we only dance for Katie. All right, keep it special. So okay, that's a good point, and it's a fair point. Who would, even if it wasn't an advertisement, who would invest in this to get it off the ground, to get it going? Because I mean, it is a process. It is a business. It is Kate. Okay, my apologies, Kate. It is, an investment that would need to be funded. So who is funding it? That is something that I've also thought of. Again, I can't give away spoilers. But basically, my entire question in this episode was: do card games as RPGs work? Do card games as RPG video games work? Do RPGs with card games as their foundation work, is what I meant. And do card games in TTRPGs work? And then from that, could we do it? So my last question to wrap up this segment is a card game, mini game, trading game, it could even just be a trading game. Like, it's not like you battle, but you trade. Like, oh, I'll give you a Grunkle for a Nimwort, or I'll trade you my two shitty Adarag for one Dragon Slaying Nimwort or something. Like,
Nimwort's always top.
Yeah. I'm thinking of names as they pop in my head. It's a struggle. So, anyways, like, is that something that could be brought to King's Crossing? Is that something that should be brought to King's Crossing? Those are my 2 questions to end on. Thoughts. I'm not calling you thoughts. I'm asking for your thoughts. I'm not asking for your guys' thoughts. I want to know your opinions. You guys can keep your thoughts.
And if I'm a thought.
Also that.
I say go for it with the caveat of don't let it take over the rest of your story. That's still more important.
Absolutely, yeah. That's fair.
So like this has to be like a side thing that doesn't take too much time in the session, but can add some depth to the world.
That is something I forgot to talk about. Something I wanted to talk about. Before we go to your guys' ideas, thoughts, opinions. If it was like a trading game, like where you guys get to a tavern, you get back to Hobbs Lodge or something, you're like, you know, you're sitting in the warmth with the fire going, and oh my God, Liliana walking around, you know, serving drinks, and she's like, hey, you know, if you're interested, Jonathan's over there playing cards with his son. You could, you know, sit in and learn. And you guys go sit in and learn. I would hopefully treat that as going back to Pickles. Was it your idea? Well, your suggestion that I'm stealing this idea from you. You might have stole it from elsewhere. The 3 encounters rule to a session.
Yeah, I probably stole it from somewhere because
okay.
I
so
like it.
In a session, having about 3 encounters, whether that be an RP encounter, a combat encounter, a mystery encounter, like solving clues, whatever the case may be, having about 3 encounters makes up about the length of a session to have a good in-depth session. What I would do is I would treat, if you guys were to do a trading card game or whatever the case may be, it would be 1 encounter. So equivalent of maybe 45 minutes of your 3-hour session. It could be a half hour, it could be up to an hour, give or take, you know. Half hour to an hour, is that what I said? I don't know what I said. So hopefully it wouldn't take up, you know, if you guys came to a session, you're like, okay, once a week we get to sit down, you wouldn't spend your entire, you know, 3-hour segment having to play this game and be like, oh my God, it's been 2.5 hours. Can we be done? Like, you know, I wouldn't have it be that. It would hopefully take up maybe 30 to an hour.
If it's a game, you're saying?
That's if we incorporated it into a whole game. Or if it's a trading card and you're going to trade with someone, that would be basically the equivalent of a role play encounter. You know, I'm meeting up with Jonathan. He's got these cards. We're going to discuss and like trade. And I've got to use the barter skill maybe to like get a good deal off of him. And whatever the case may be, it would be basically just and that could be 5 minutes. I mean, really.
I like Pickle's suggestion from earlier. I would suggest start simple, just make it cards with like some text on them, and then later on, then you can develop the game. And even if the cards that we have from early on don't work in the game because they weren't developed that way, that's fine. That happens in like every like Magic. A lot of the earliest cards you can't use because they didn't know what their game would be in 5 years. So that's fine, and those are super rare and super valuable, even though they're not used in the game, just because, you know, they didn't mass produce them.
That'd be interesting.
I think that's a good way to go, and I like what Pickles said there.
That almost makes me think of relating it to Marvel. You maybe like you have the, I don't know, we'll say, I'm trying to think about here. We'll go Hawkeye. So Hawkeye became an Avenger, real popular, blah, 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 right? If you go back to maybe Hawkeye origin card, not a superhero, not Avenger, you know, you're like, oh, he's got no power, no combat, no, like, I can't use him in a game because he's not an Avenger, he's not a superhero. But this card is so rare because it's from his origin story that it's a collector. It's not like something I would go battle with.
Yeah, no one knew he would be a superhero, so they didn't mass produce it at the time. And now he is, and it's like, oh, wow, this is worth a lot now.
Yeah, that's a cool
idea. I think that's a cool concept.
Okay, so could and should, it sounds like yes and possibly.
Someone wants to say something.
Okay. I was just making sure I got tough notes. Go ahead.
Yeah, first yes and yes. Right off the bat, yes. I think it would work. Of course, Tough Nuts has all the right points about how just incorporating it as don't make it the main focus of the story, but certainly I think it would work But also just a completely left field sort of thing. This could be how Adarag learns to read.
He learns to read through the. He's like, I don't read books, but I got trading cards, and I
got
know
trading-
this picture is Grunkle. So I read the title, and that says Grunkle probably.
Grunkle.
I love that.
That's pretty cool. That's a good idea. There's some
I like
character
it.
development right there.
Character development.
So could and should, yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
Yes and possibly. Pickles?
I guess it's on to me to be the bad guy.
Yeah, tell me how much
No
you hate
and no.
my grand idea that I've worked really hard on.
Well, okay,
I
so it's not necessarily something that inspires me, but I think that doesn't necessarily matter. If it's something you want to do and you enjoy making, then you should go for it. In that case, I would say yes. But I would say to temper that with acknowledging how interested your players are in it. Like, you can have Grunkle just sitting there enjoying beer while Torvekic and guest star and other guest star, Wilfer as well is also there. Like, they're playing the game. Like, I'm happy to hang out. I made a dumb character because I want to be able to hang out. In Inwol's game, I made a pacifist because I just want to help out my comrades and not think too much about the strategy because I'm not the fighter. So I think in that sense, if you have like a bunch of players enjoying it and some players are okay just to kind of sit around and hang out with it and RP in the tavern while the game is going on, that could be a good thing. It's just if nobody bites, then you may have that problem of not having that time space filled with material. So for like the improv stuff, that's what I'm saying is to gauge it mostly on your players' interest. But you could like move that interest in a good direction. Like the classic is the casino situation. You could set any number of adventures in a casino. The common one is a heist, obviously, but you could have a lot of different things happen that would involve playing the game potentially, blending in for a little bit, or going to a noble gala where they have these kinds of things. Oh, that seems a little lower class for nobles, but nobles do whatever, the aristocrats. So yeah, I just temper it based on your players or the story. Because the story might need that game to be played or might call for it as a strong option. Are you good at sneaking or are you good at charming? The group might say, let's play some cards. But picking it up on their own would be, yeah.
So I actually thought you would back the trading card idea immediately. Only because if you had a crowd of fans being like, hey, can you sign our trading cards for Grunkle? You're telling me Grunkle wouldn't feel like a hero?
Grunkle loves the idea. He's not keen on playing it, but he loves the idea.
Yeah.
And I'm the player here being like, I see what you want to do, and I get why you're passionate for it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Grunkle would love any sort of celebrity like thing.
Okay.
He wouldn't even question who's making these cards. He'd just be like, yes, I've helped a person.
I think that'll solve that problem. So I'm gonna be reaching out and starting to develop some kind of idea for these trading cards, seeing where we want to go with them. What I'm probably gonna do is just pitch it to the groups, and if anyone has any like interest in helping with it, I'll allow that. If you guys are like, surprises with it, that's perfectly fine too. But I think this is where we're gonna jump over to our next segment. This is a dirty special, the drinks and discussion special. Where we play a mini series. Basically, bring D&D to the channel. Not D&D, sorry. TTRPG, tabletop role playing game to the channel. We have a very special person here named Mr. Pickles who has agreed to DM, to orchestrate, to organize, to guide us, the players, through a easy adventure. So if you guys want to watch, basically, we've talked about RPGs. Let's play one. Let's bring it to the channel. So we're going to come in. Pickles, do you have some kind of intro to this or some kind of organization, or do you want me to break it down real quick?
If you'd like to break it down, I'll load my notes. I was actually just going to say, like, if you guys want to, we can. It doesn't necessarily have to be every week. Just if you guys want to. And if you want to, if you have your paper, your dice,
I'm ready.
then Oh my. Okay. Well, let me get my notes.
All right, so while he gets his notes, we're gonna break this down. Basically, he's the DM. He's gonna tell us a story. We're the players. We're gonna roll dice and try and have our characters succeed at whatever we're doing in the world that he has painted a picture of. We'll go around and tell about our characters. I'm playing Ozlog. Basically a mutant. A human mutant, so more mutant than human at this point. Basically used to work for criminal underworld, was the right-hand man that, or really the left-hand man, wasn't the right-hand man who would like go out and like help run the business and blah blah blah, was mainly just the bodyguard, the muscle, the one who would stand in the room at all the meetings and escort the trash out, right? Since then, the criminal organization has been shut down, and I've kind of gone into hiding / just retired, just walked away, because I wasn't wrapped up in it. I didn't get caught. Maybe I like showed up to work one day and they were all shut down, and I was like, oh, oops. I was turning around and walk as like the cops are blocking the whole place off. I'm like, I'll just be over here. I ended up in
Happy Meadow.
Oh, I lost my notes. No! They were in a notepad and my computer restarted and didn't save. Thank you. They were in Happy Meadow. And I ended up in Happy Meadow, and there I work as a bartender, where basically I use my brewing skills and put them to use as a bartender. My brewing skills mainly used to concoct the potions that my mutant body is able to ingest to make myself heightened, enhanced, to be able to accomplish the task at hand, whether that be taking out the trash or fighting monsters. So that's Ozlog. That's a little bit about him, a little bit of his backstory coming into the game. My other players?
Adichie.
All right.
Adichie. My name is Adichie. My name is Adichie. I'm a lizard folk that is just kind of known as the tinkerer around the town. Specialize in medical devices mostly, and that was all because of my wife, who I had to create a mechanical heart for, but ended up in that pursuit, after failing many times, I sought outside help. First place that after exhausting most of my options, I came to the Thieves Guild that Ozlog was a part of, to ask for their aid, and when they didn't give it, I turned to more sinister means. Spooky demons. And so I, after making a pact with the devil, I was able to create it, but after failing to fulfill that pact, my wife was taken away from me. And that's where my character has now been kind of on the side of trying to figure out how to get back at the patron who has, in my mind, wronged me.
And that brings us to our watery friend.
I am
Watery currently.
Peculiar's. Yeah, am I watery? Who knows?
Who knows?
My
The
name
world may never
is,
know.
Peculiar's Cinderstar, and I am a hermit that lives on the south side of town, known particularly for an instance where the town was at risk of burning down in a great forest fire, and I saved the town with my water magic and put out the fire, and I'm very well known for that instance. But, I live a humble life out in my shack with my Doberman Apollo. My magic is very unpredictable. I try to have it do what I bid it to do, and you just never know what's gonna happen. So it's kind of a wild magic thing. And then, yeah, I'm pretty good with like survival skills and outdoor skills because I live out in the forest. But yeah, that's me, and I'm a water genasi.
Yes, you appear to be a different type of genasi-like creature every single day, and today you are water, which we discovered last session is a very beneficial thing because it makes all of the town folk it makes them think of when you put out that big fire. And that's especially good because you've been invited into town for the pre-harvest festival festivities. Like, people are getting things together. They want you to be seen around. People want to give you free food and free drink. In fact, last session, you guys had a little drinking contest. And, well, the Water Genasi won.
I got my
You- you
ass
got-
kicked.
You got the best roll there. It was basically somebody was fortifying their cider with something stronger, and so it was a bit of a surprise. But I don't think anybody threw up, so that's all good. You guys found that there were some young children coming to town saying that their father and their pet dog had been stolen by a group of bandits, and the bandits had like some green thing with them that was small and screaming help, help, help. And so they came to town looking for help, 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 which I guess in this case is you three. So you went and you got your supplies, and I believe there was a particularly awesome roll there from, well, Mr. Peculiars, casting his magic onto some already magical brews made by our bartender Oslog. And it
Oh,
made
yes.
something that you guys don't know quite what it is.
Mhm.
I mean, the bartender has an idea of what his side is, but there's some wildness, and it's very, very potent, and the potions are actually glowing a neon green.
Do
If you recall.
you have notes of what I made or what I attempted to make?
I believe it was a like defense, and there was also like a offense one. Like, you
Yeah.
wanted to get tough, and then you wanted to do heavy damage.
And then there was a healing, and then I'm trying to remember what the fourth one was, because you had me do 4. There's one for healing, one to like be
I
able
thought you
to
did 2 of each.
endure more. No, one.
I
to
think
be
it
able
was
to-
2 of each.
I don't think
That's
so.
what I remember.
I don't think we have these recorded, so there's never a way to know at this
Dang
point.
it! Oh, wait. I see what you did there.
Aha.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Okay, I'm gonna write down what I
Or the
think I
fifth
tried
wall?
to make, and we'll see what I
Yeah,
get.
no, that works for me. Just you let me know what you made, because I know your general bartending brewing power.
Okay.
So you guys followed this to the farmhouse, which appeared to be empty and the doors wide open. There was some broken fencing. You guys looked around. Ozlog made sure the house was clear, and you found that, yeah, maybe somebody took people through the broken areas in the fencing. So you investigated it, you made sure it was not magically trapped, and you went down the path. We ended last session with you guys discovering some of what has happened. You've come upon an area where the bandits have made camp, and bandits is just a loose term for 3 guys out in the woods wearing grubby looking leather armor. They have a green thing tied up to a stick, and like his arms are bound to his side, his legs are bound to the stick, and he's been screaming for a while now. You guys were drawn in by the noise of this screaming goblin-like creature saying, and of course the bandits laughing as if this is great entertainment, hearing sharp cries of pain, presumably when they throw rocks at it. From your viewpoint, you also saw that they have a dog who looks very, very guilty and scared and confused, tied to a stake as well. Apollo and Peculiars, you immediately can understand this is a bad situation for this dog. You get an unnerving feeling. If you'd like to empathize, though, you can go ahead and roll your animal empathy.
Sure. Which one's that?
That should be a D8 for you. Remember to add a D6, your wild die, just in case your normal die doesn't help you. There you go.
A 5.
A 5. A 5 is good enough to know. The dog's eyes dart in a couple different directions. You think that there might be another bandit somewhere. A total of 4 rather than 3. One of the bandits is sitting like on a big burlap sack filled with apples, by the way. The other 2 are like sitting on a rock and a stump around a campfire.
Okay.
What would
Sorry.
you guys like to do?
They haven't seen us, right? They don't know we're
No, they haven't seen you yet, but if you move forward to do like get closer, you may need to use some stealth if you have any ability at that.
there. Okay. Well, I'm gonna inform the group, guys. I think there might be more than just the 3. Keep your eyes peeled.
I see.
Oh, I don't. I only see
I'm
3.
gonna look at Apollo, and let's just assume I've pretty well trained him over the years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like a little hand motion of like maybe this, and maybe that means
Turtle.
like yeah turtle, and maybe that means see if he can find the fourth person that's, or like go search.
Yeah,
of thing.
go ahead and roll your animal empathy to represent your training on this particular
Okay.
trick.
An 8.
Let's
Okay,
go.
an 8 on your 8.
And a 5, so 13.
Yeah.
8 and a 5. Yes.
13.
Okay, a 13.
For those listening, if you roll the max number on he's rolling a D8. He rolled an 8. That's the max number. That's called an explosion, and you get to roll again and add them together.
And I know the numbers that they want to get, but I also shared them a while back, so it's not a secret. Anyways, a 13 is very, very good. You are certainly able to have that be a command, and Apollo goes down and begins to go low to the ground, kind of trotting along, trying to stay hidden at various points, and then, making his way past the bandits to try and get some information. What would you guys like to do? You can wait, of course, if you'd like, to get information back, but the rest of you can do other things too.
Adichi's going to ready one of his green glowing runes.
All right.
And just kind of have it at the ready.
What does that mean? Like, is this like on a parchment or?
No, they're little tinkering, sort of they're little gyro. They look like a little gyro,
Okay.
but they'll fold out into a runic circle.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You had said that there were capsules, and for some reason I thought of Dragon Ball, the capsules they use for the motorbikes and stuff. You throw it in the rune. But yeah, that works too. Like a metal mechanical gyro kind of thing.
Little
that,
gyro,
twists into
think
shape.
Dwemer sort of mechanical.
Yeah. Okay.
Ball. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
About the size of a softball or something like that.
Okay, yeah, bigger than I thought. But yeah, that makes sense why you had so few of them, I guess. Because you only had a handful of them, right?
I only had 2 of the greens, 2 of the purples, and 2 of the yellows.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So you have the green one ready.
Mm-hmm. Green one's
How
ready.
about Oslog? Is there anything you'd like to do in preparation?
I think not. I'd like to observe. I'm probably just going to be trying to watch for roots, not tree roots, but roots of patrols if they're walking around anything, what their routine is and what they're currently I'm just observing, so I if I go into a situation, I know, okay, that guy's been drinking a lot, he's going to be intoxicated. I know that guy's been yawning a lot, he's going to be really tired, so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're going to need to get closer though to get that kind of information. Do you want to sneak up a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not good at sneaking.
I don't know. Criminal Pass seems like a reasonable one.
Sure. I have what's funny is I like that you labeled that criminal pass, because I labeled that muscle weapon and that wouldn't work for sneaking at all. So I'm really glad you labeled that criminal pass. I'm gonna go with that.
Well, I think in the first session you helped to orient that a little bit. I was looking at it in a different, align it, maybe I should say, is I was looking at it a little bit differently, and then it's okay, no, it's your criminal past, because I think you used I want to say you stealth or something. I was
Stealth? I stealth?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. You did something that made me think, I don't know if that is criminal past, and I was you know what? No, actually, I'm thinking about this wrong. It is.
I have no idea.
Well, go ahead and sneak on the ground.
I'm sneaking on the ground. I got a 3 and a 3. I'd like to use a Benny.
Oh no, we don't have bennies here though. This isn't real Savage Worlds. This is Savage Pickles.
I got a subscriber today. Can my subscriber gift me a reroll? Dang it! I got
what
fail
happens?
And a fail, I think.
What happens is you start to crawl up, and you get to it's actually a very advantageous area that you're at. You crawl along. You have bushes overhead, but you're on a raised bit of ground, so if they looked right at the bottom of the bushes, they wouldn't see you. A raised ground with some bushes in front of you. There's a tree overhanging you, and you're right at the edge of this group. And they're talking about how to get around the town. They're like, I think if we go around the east, points like in general direction, we'll be able to get around town. They won't even know. But that's west, dumbass. We gotta go around east. We gotta go the other way. They're kind of arguing back and forth like that. And the one on the apple is kind of just laughing. Like, you guys are so stupid. You don't even know where town is. And that's when Apollo, kind of across in some bushes, you lock eyes. What's your name?
Peculiar.
Rathnor.
Yeah, it was like Adichie. Why am I? I don't want to say Adichie.
Aslog?
Yeah. No, Peculiars. You lock eyes with your dog
No one knows.
Apollo. Your dog Apollo. Nobody else's dog, not Adichie's. Peculiars. You lock eyes with Apollo, and he does a series of like nods and taps on the ground that let you know opposite side coming towards the side shortly, like opposite of the fire. It's coming shortly.
Okay.
You have a connection that you know, you've taught him how to count, and so you have a general idea of how much 3 taps away is.
Okay.
So you pick
I'll
up that.
I'll
Yeah,
motion
go
for him to come back.
All right.
Yeah.
He's going to move back around. And as he's like coming back around, that's when one of the guys notices you, Oslog. He said, "The fuck is that in the bushes?" And they all kind of get up and turn around.
Nothing. Carry on.
Oh, okay.
I said, "Is that a talking bush?"
Yes.
No, dumbass. And that you hear the sound of metal being drawn from scabbards.
No, talking bush.
Things are beginning to heat up here. So everybody roll your characteristic or occupation that is most associated with combat readiness.
Oh, that's me, baby.
Probably criminal past for Oslog.
I suck.
Demonic magic, probably for me.
Yes, that's what I was about to guess. Wild magic or survivalist, either one would work for you peculiars. Though the wild magic would be more advantageous if you were focused on hurting people or helping
the
them.
D10 is 0 to 9, right? Yeah.
Correct. I don't know where my D8 went. That's kind of bugging me.
I got 1 on a
Oof.
D10.
All right, what?
Ooh.
How about the rest of you?
What about your
I got a
D6?
5.
Did it get any better?
Oh, I didn't roll a 6.
Oh yes, go ahead and roll a D6 as well.
2.
Oh, there you go.
The 2 works.
I got a 5 and a 5. I'll take the 5.
So 5 and 2.
I got a 5 and a 3. I'll take it a 5.
Okay, 2 5s and a 2 and a 4. Okay, so
can I roll for Apollo?
Apollo is on his own action pace here.
Okay.
Is that actually? Okay. He's trotting anyways. He's out of view. Dang, your dog's good. Anyways, it's a weird line to have. So which of the
Dang,
two
your
of you
dog is
would go
good.
first? Adichie or Oslog? Which one of you has better reactions here?
Depends on what
I
we're
think-
trying to do.
I think Aslog probably has better he's probably been in a bit more combat than Adichie.
That's fair. For combat,
All right.
For combat, I'll act. Normally, I would stand back and let my boss interact, and I would just be there to back him up. But in combat, I feel like I'm going to take charge.
All right. You are prone behind some bushes. What would you like to do?
I want to. There are trees nearby.
Yeah, there's one to your like immediate right that you could reach out and touch.
I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm getting a bit too silly.
This is the silly game.
Right, but like charging and hitting the tree and knocking it down and having it land on them, probably not super realistic.
It's a fairly thick tree. If you did knock it down, it would be pretty helpful.
Yeah, it's also more realistic to just knock myself out, and that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, that would be pretty embarrassing. First
Um,
adventure, can't beat bandits.
Yeah,
I'm a criminal too, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a criminal
You've gotten to combat. Oh, it's okay. We have a tank. Your tank's unconscious. What the fuck?
What the hell? He choked himself out.
I believe I wield a giant Did we say, was it an axe, a hammer?
I believe
said
you said it was an
axe.
axe.
It was going to be
Yeah,
an
great
axe when I
axe.
was going to be a lumberjack, and then I became a brewer. So I wield a giant stir stick.
Giant spoon.
Yeah.
Giant spoon.
I mean, you might still have an axe because an axe is a good weapon.
Yeah, that's true. Probably. I want to at this point probably just stand up and go to my full height, pull out the offensive drink. And I did remember what my fourth one was. It was increased reactions. Remember that? So I'll pull out the offensive drink. No, actually, I want to pull out the increased reaction time. Hopefully, think fast. Maybe if somebody's like swinging at me, I can like process and be like, no, you go into that barrel because I know that's there, or you go into that fire, blah blah blah. Hopefully, reaction, kind of see the room, see what's going on. So I want to down that potion as I just stand up to my full height and just start walking towards them.
Yeah.
What the?
What the hell? I just hear a quack, but like a really cheap, authentic, like
that was
like toy.
Excuse me.
What is this?
Oh, excuse
Are you guys
me.
quacking?
Oslog's farting as he's walking towards them. This potion.
No, he is not making quacking noises. This is not cartoon fantasy. No.
Guys, we've turned into a shitty radio show.
Welcome to Stinky and the Wrath.
Anyways, I'm gonna have to hire like a Dees as my DJ for the radio show. Welcome to the Dirty Podcast.
1067, the Dirty.
The Dirty. Oh no, not that one. No, we lost. No. Yeah, thank you. Bring it around. Anyways, Pickles, please DM. Pickles is broken. Never mind.
Okay, no, we're not a radio show.
I just love
Playing
that
classic rock.
I stand up, walk towards them. Quack.
Okay, so you rise to your feet and you pull out this potion, and despite it glowing, literally neon green, you drink it down because you believe you can handle anything.
And for those listening, the basic concept of my potions is they're toxic to most people. They're just wild chaos magic and blah, blah, blah. They're just infused with all kinds of like poisons, toxins, and stuff that would kill the common man. Because I'm a mutant, I'm able to ingest them, and they're so strong that hopefully it helps me in combat or whatever situation I'm in. Pickles?
And you have allies.
Go ahead and
thank
roll.
God.
Get some more from magic. Your D8.
Yeah,
And a
my
D6.
D8 and a D6. So
Don't forget the wild die.
D8, not a D10.
I don't even know where my D8 is, and it's bugging me. So I don't even get to roll that. I have to upgrade people to a D6 if I have.
That's a downgrade.
Yeah, I know. I don't have any D8 characters here.
Okay, so
Or
yeah,
do
my
I?
chaos magic D8 plus my wild die D6. I got a 3 and a 2. Taking the 3, I guess. Unless the
All
2
right.
is more wild chaos, then maybe I want that one.
As you step out, you immediately feel the most strange sensation come over you. You feel like a wash of heat come over your face, like your face is just suddenly flushed, and oh my gosh, you feel really, really stinking good right now. It's actually laughable how good you feel. In fact, you feel like just kind of giving out a belly laugh at how absurdly fucked up these stupid little bandits are. Everything goes into like slow time as you feel like if you laugh, it's probably going to sound like a chipmunk to them because you are so like honed in on what's going on and feeling really good and very, very loose. Like your muscles feel all loose, but able to be used at the same time. Did he add like a shot of something real powerful in there?
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
I'm hoping.
Unfortunately, they don't see it the same way. They all kind of look at you like you can see one of them's picking up an apple to throw at you. But it's not their turn yet. It is Adici's turn.
All right, so Adichie with the green, glowing green gyro, he's going to chuck that at the guy who's readying to throw an apple.
Yeah, you probably have to move up a little bit to get a
Okay.
good like throwing. But you could try and like throw it from a distance. It'd just be a little penalty, a little bit badass.
No, Adichie is gonna get up in there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get up in there and prepare to throw it. That's your demonic magic. Go ahead and roll, and then tell me what your green runes do.
Okay. So that's a 5.
Success.
And so my green runes are going to do something in ensnaring. I'm thinking like some sort of eldritch tentacle comes up and like latches onto them and like stops them from like halting all movement and actions from them.
Yeah.
And like binding them in place.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking about. Your Demon Pact. I should have read it more thoroughly, but it's like 300 pages. So yeah. As you throw that out, do these just like they open the rune and the rune casts onto them, and then the gyro like still stays there, just it's inert, or does it like dissipate in it?
So the gyro kind of like I throw it kind of like a ball, and then it like bounces like 1 or 2 times, and then folds out around the target, and then the rune activates once the circle is complete, and then that opens like a portal to the underworld that summons the demonic magic that I'm going for.
Okay. Is it still there after like the rune has been cast at the enemy, or does it turn into smoke and disappear? How does that work?
It's still there. The
So
mechanical,
you recollect them.
Yeah, so the mechanical thing is still there, so I can collect it afterwards, and then make tweaks to it as like a tinkerer skill is like to make tweaks to the runes to make different effects.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so you throw that out, and a 5 certainly works. You did roll your wild die, right?
Yes, I rolled my 8 and 6. I rolled a 5 on the 6 and a 4 on the
Oh,
8.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, if you do want to just tell me the highest roll, that also works for me. I just want to make sure people are getting that extra luck. Anyways, so yeah, he's like he picks up an apple and he's preparing to throw because his turn is coming up next, and then this thing rolls in front of him, and the rune displays with a green glow, I presume,
Yes.
and then a circle appears around him and this burlap sack full of apples, and all of a sudden these black inky tentacles come out and just you're the one who sees them for a moment. He's like looking at this like little machine being like, what the huh? And then all of a sudden tentacles just wrap around him from behind and slam him down into the apples. You most likely made some applesauce there with your spell. Not great applesauce though. He's certainly pinned for the moment, and he's going to need to struggle against this. It is the number 4, so that means it's time for their struggling and time for their moves of action. So we have the guy on the ground who's going to struggle. That's a 1. That's not going to help you at all, buddy. The other 2 guys don't notice this yet, I don't think. And so they, with their short swords drawn, are going to go towards Oslog. The first one is likely going to hit, but you have defenses here, Oslog. So why don't you go ahead and roll your combat ability? Is it the D10 criminal past?
Yeah. D10 criminal past. And is my reaction potion helping at all, or is it more just making me laugh at people?
You are getting an increase in reactions, so I'll give you a +2 to whatever you roll.
Okay. My best is a 6 on my wild die, which would be exploding then. Is that counted as a +2 8 then? Or is it total? That? So I got a 6 on my wild die, my D6.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get to re-roll it. Yeah. Is this 6 considered an 8 plus whatever I roll, which would also get a +2, or is it +2 to the total roll at the end of it?
Total at the end.
Okay, so right now 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 2 is 13.
And that definitely beats my 6 that got him 3, making a 9. As he swings out his sword, you bring up part of your axe, and you're able to just like very fluidly just like knock his sword out of the way. In which case, the other guy's gonna come at you with his short sword as well. Oh, another 6. And a 5. 11.
Do I also parry this or no?
Go for it.
Oh. Hell yeah. You got an 11? Oh, no.
Yeah, he got a good...
No, I got a 5 on that one. Unless I get the +2, then it'd be a 7, which still fails.
It is 7. 7 versus his 11. This is actually something where I just subtract the rolls. And so that would bring him down to a 4, where he does cut into you just ever so slightly. You take a slash into your stomach, something that you don't really register more than, okay, now I'm getting pissed. This is a mere scratch on you. And that brings us to Peculiars, I believe. With your 2?
Ooh, I'm ready
Okay.
for this.
Have I seen?
I'm so ready for this.
Have I seen the 4th guy yet?
No.
Okay.
You know he'll be coming in probably like 20, 30 seconds. So you
Okay.
have some time here.
I'm going
But
to
maybe like 10 to 15 seconds, sorry.
Okay. Knowing where he's coming from, I'm going to attempt to put a wall of some element in front of him.
All right.
I'm gonna try for ice, but we'll see what happens.
You mostly want something solid.
Yeah, like I want to impede his ability to get to us.
Okay.
No fire, no
Uh,
fire, no fire, no fire.
Go ahead and roll your wild magic.
Okay.
This is how the forest fire started.
A
We don't
2,
talk about that. A 2. And what about your wild die? Did you?
a 1.
Oh,
This is how
we
the fire
don't
started.
want to set the world on
I got a
fire.
2 on my main dice, 1 on the wild.
I just want
Shoot.
to
That doesn't count. That
start
doesn't count. Okay.
a flame in your heart.
Oslog sets on fire.
As you're
That could be
focusing,
good.
as you're focusing over there, you're
Fucking
trying to
take
think
it.
of something that would impede, and then your stomach growls. And all that seems to appear is like a loaf of bread in the path. Just a simple loaf of bread just goes.
All right, fair enough. I just look at my hands, just dang it.
But it is in the
Where's
path
this-
that the guy would probably be following.
Is it
might
like just?
distract
Where's this?
Is
loaf
it
of
just
bread?
like the size of a loaf of bread?
It's a loaf of bread the size of a loaf of bread, just past the campsite a little bit, going the direction like you guys have been walking to get here.
Would
Like,
I see
you
this?
just
I'm
passed.
probably distracted.
Yeah, you probably see a little loaf of
Loaf
bread
of
appear.
I'm like,
And that brings us back to the top, Oslog.
I just
Was that you?
it was supposed to be ice.
I
The
vouched
bread
for
witch.
you. I told him you were cool.
This is the one you brought me.
He said, I thought he was really powerful. Maybe
I can be, I swear.
he's feeding the dog.
Well, then prove it.
Oslog, it's on to you. The 2 guys are attacking you. One of them just scratched you with his blade.
I want to attack one of the guys with the other guy. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Use it as a weapon.
Improvised weapon.
Yeah, is that something I can do?
Yes, and because it's a heroic move here, doing something out of the ordinary, I'm going to give you a -2, but
Okay with
your results will be good if you succeed.
Do I still get a +2 for my potion?
That's to reactions. This is more of a picking up
Oh.
strength kind of thing.
I like the
In
way
which
I
case-
like the way you work that. That's a good idea. Yeah.
In which case, though, you get a +3.
What?
It's just, I don't know how potions work.
When does he get a +3?
Yeah, wait.
Well, I don't know why he gets a +3 to strength-based things, but that's what the potion says in front of me. You have +2 to reactions, +3 to strength.
And this is a strength-based thing? So I
Yeah, you're gonna
+3
pick
to
up a
this,
guy and
but a
smash him.
-2 from the heroics, so total +1?
Correct.
Okay. Rolling. I got a... Wait. Yeah, it's on my D10. So I got a 7 on the D10, so that'd be an 8 in total.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely pick him up and swing him towards. And of course, picking him up, you feel like you're very strong. Again, laughably strong. You feel good. You feel like a beefcake. You feel like you could lift a car, but cars don't exist, so you don't know that. You just
Yeah.
swing this guy
I
angry
could
that
lift
cars don't
something that moves
exist.
fast, probably.
You're angry that you don't have a wagon to swing at these guys.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
mad that he hasn't invented a car yet.
And it smashes into the other guy, who tumbles to the ground. It's mostly damaging to the guy that you are holding because your grip like is squeezing into his shoulder or like his his torso probably, and you've probably broken a bone, but you slam him into the other guy who gets knocked down. Do you want to like throw him or just keep holding him afterwards?
No, I'm probably just gonna wield him.
He does have a sword in his arm. He's probably gonna like stab up close to you with this if you keep holding him. That's
Perfect.
the only reason.
Extended reach.
Okay. So yeah, you keep on holding on to this guy, and that brings us to Adichie then.
All right, seeing this meat wagon happening here.
Jeez, I'm down here in slow mo, thinking I'm in fast mode or whatever. Like, raw. I'm probably for them. Am I moving? Like, I'm.
He looks incredibly drunk.
The guy by hands is like, "What are you doing?"
Profoundly.
Stop.
This is actually like you've never seen him this drunk before, and you're probably surprised that he's actually in control of his body.
I love it. I love it. I love being a random potion breaker.
So
This is
we
gonna
have
be
the
great.
one dude that's prone on the ground, and we have the one dude who is currently being wielded by
He's a weapon. He's my weapon.
Yes. And there's the guy who's being held down.
held down
By
Okay.
your thing, right?
by my tentacles. Let's see. Yeah. So
This
the guy
podcast just gained a
Wait,
whole
wait,
new rating.
A loaf of bread has appeared.
Oh yeah,
loaf of
and
bread
there's
is
loaf
weird.
of bread.
Loaf of bread. What is your initiative?
I was gonna say, watch the loaf of bread like start moving. Yo, wait a second.
Who has the
That would-
best?
That would be cool.
Who has the best reactions of Oslog,
Me.
Adichie, and Loaf of Bread?
I have a plus loaf of bread. I have a +2 to my reactions.
Loaf of Bread frowns. It has +4.
Oh no!
No, I'm kidding. Loaf of Bread doesn't get to act because he's always loafing around.
Oh, he's
Ah,
he's loafing.
Mm,
He's loafing it.
Yeah, so-
too
Da-da-da-da-da.
much time for that.
let's see.
loafing it.
Adichie's going to reach on his belt for his golden one. His yellowish light coming from it.
I also want to reach for Adishi's golden one.
Yeah.
He's going to throw it at the guy who's prone on the ground.
All right. Go ahead and roll your demon magic, and then tell me, of course, what does this one do? It's exciting for me. I don't know the rules.
All of our stuff is so random magic.
All right, so I got a 7 on an 8. So that'll be a 7.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
And so the golden one, it folds out around it, and then a hellfire erupts from that circle where it's at, charring and incinerating whoever is unfortunate enough to be in the middle of it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So because he's been knocked down, this is the perfect time to use that. With your 7, you're able to arc it over. And it rolls towards him, or maybe bounces a few times towards him, and then gives that amber golden light onto him. And he's looking at that, trying to get up, and being like, "What the hell?" And then around him, vroom, fire just burns through him. And maybe if he was standing, he could have jumped out of the way and only taken partial damage. But this definitely is a quick and relatively painless way to kill somebody. You're kind of like a doctor in that way. You've euthanized him with flame as the flames go up, and maybe like one of his legs was sticking out of the circle, and like his foot or his boot is still there as the circle disappears. Of course, Oslog, you feel the warmth of awesomeness appear near you, and you look silly fire.
I'm gonna hold
Sillier
the
than
guy
the
over
bread.
head and cheer like this dude from Star Wars, who the Tusken Raiders.
I also do cremation services.
I want to know: is it toast? A loaf of toast now?
No, the bread's not near enough to be toasted. But if you had it nearby, perhaps you could toast it on Hellfire.
Okay.
That brings us to our enemies. There is the guy who is pinned down by these tentacles, who just saw his comrade burn to a crisp. He's saying, "No, I'm not going to die today. I'm not going to die today."
Stay still and you won't have to.
Just barely enough. He pulls free of some of the tentacles, and like using that, he grabs an apple and he throws it wildly at. Uh-oh. You can probably hear that because I have a very small mouse pad that I'm rolling on. A 9. A 9 is coming towards you, Oslog. Go ahead and roll. how capable you are at defending yourself.
I feel like that's something I'm very
Bring it
capable
down
at.
to below 4 is 9. Below 4. You got
Um,
this.
Below 4. This is a
It's got a 9.
reaction.
Yes, this is your defensive. You're dodging or parrying or
8 total.
8. That does bring it below a 4. So yeah, you're able to. How do you defend as this apple comes flying, hurtling towards your face? Do you just kind of lean out of the way?
9, I rolled an 8, so he hits me for 1. Is that what I'm getting?
No, what I'm doing is I'm using it as you want to get a 4 or higher to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so your defensive roll is equivalent to, in Savage Worlds, what you'd have as your static toughness or your static parry. And so this is streamlining it into randomness of battle. You roll instead of having a static number.
Okay.
And so you might have a moment where your grip slips on your blade in trying to parry, and then they get a good cut in because of that. If you roll really low,
So
but
you're
if you roll
taking
really
the
high,
difference between the two numbers.
And then that's the final roll that they made.
yes.
Okay.
So he rolled 9, you rolled 8. He got a 1 basically, so he didn't succeed.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
Okay. All right, track you. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. So the apple either like you either dodge it or you use your weapon to. It's probably not that good of a success. Like it hits your hand and splatters, and then you have like a half of an apple that you could probably put in your mouth.
I try and
But-
catch it. I'm like, oh! It just hits me in the
It's like
face.
it's a broken apple when you catch it. But it probably wasn't that great to begin with. It's kind of applesaucey. Anyways, yes, that's his turn, and then there
Technically.
is the guy in your arm who is going to resist by trying to stab you in the throat. A 2's not going to help very much, no matter what. So he swings his blade at you, and you're able to easily avoid this. Like you don't even have to try too hard. Like
Stop it.
you hold him back, and he's like swinging for your throat instead of your arm, and like he just doesn't have a chance there.
No.
That brings us to peculiars.
Okay. Yeah,
we
the
were,
guy
we
that
were
just
so hyped for his turn last turn. We were all like, "Yeah, I'm so ready."
the guy that
Redemption.
just threw his apple. I'm going to try to just like use my water genasi magic and literally boil the water in his body, like the blood.
Oh my god!
Jesus. I didn't know you had a demon pact.
Fucking hell! Oh my god!
Let's get wild. It is random and destructive.
We got tentacles and boiling blood water. This is the
And hellfire. Don't forget the hellfire.
R-rated
I got a
podcast.
7 on the D10 and a 6 on my exploding, or on my
on
6
the
on
Wild
the
die.
yeah,
So that
wild
should
die.
explode.
reroll that
So-
6. Yeah.
and 5, so that'd be 11 on that.
11.
Yeah, 11. Okay. And that's on to me to roll on the wild scale. Highway to hell.
Round of applause. Butt slaps all around.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so focusing exactly as you said, your Water Genasi spirit, you know that there's a purpose for you being Water Genasi today. Perhaps this is it. As you focus, the guy like suddenly begins to notice something's horribly wrong. And he like falls to the ground and begins to like grab at his arms and his body, but he can't figure out what's going on because you are literally boiling his blood from inside of him as he begins to scream in agony and rolls into the campfire, like burning himself in the process. He is dead within minutes, and his screaming and howling, of course, probably reminds any bandits nearby not to come fuck with the camp anymore and that they're unwelcome. Does anybody want to put him out of his misery, or
That tells
like
Oslog to not fuck with this. Oslog's like, oh, I gotta get out of here.
yeah, the guy in your arms is like, oh, please don't kill me, don't do that to me, I don't know what's going on. He drops his sword.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, I'm not even the scary one anymore. I'm like, I'll give it to that guy.
No, keep breaking my ribs.
Yeah, please throw me more.
I have a good weapon.
Keep me as a weapon. Just whatever you do, don't let that guy with the bread have me. Is it my turn?
Yeah, I guess
just-
it
let's-
is.
I was gonna say, let's say I didn't expect that, maybe, but it just happened. We'll go with that.
Yeah, wild.
You're like, I'm gonna pour
yes.
a bunch of water on him. Oh fuck!
So yeah, it's it's your turn, Oslog, and there's a man howling and a man begging and a goblin terrified and a dog really fucking confused.
Okay. Real quick, one more time. There's who's in play still?
There's the bandit in your arm that you're holding as a weapon that's begging for help. There's a bandit that will be dead that's rolling into the campfire with his blood boiling.
Right. The one who
and,
got set on Hellfire is dead.
Yeah, and then there's the goblin tied up to a stick and the dog tied to a stake.
And then potential fourth guy that we don't know where he is.
Yeah, based on the screams, you imagine nobody's coming to visit.
In that case, I'm gonna keep this one alive, in my hands, so that way Bossman can get answers. So what I'll do is I'll kind of survey the scene, and then I'll turn and probably just whistle, for Bossman, and I'll hold my prisoner, hostage, waiting for the Bossman to come in and deal with the situation.
I presume you guys are all coming into the situation. My only question really is somebody going to put the guy out of his misery, or do you just want to have the screaming of a dying bandit?
We're sitting here, like, having a conversation in the background. Like, I'm thinking of cutscene, like, our characters are all standing around talking, and just in the background, you just see this guy rolling past.
Yeah, so crazy adventure we're having.
Man, crazy day, guys.
I can't believe you beat us at that beer.
So there's this girl in town that I like.
Peculiars is just overcompensating for making bread. He felt embarrassed and really wanted to show off.
Peculiars probably does look awkward and embarrassed as you approach the group.
I'm gonna go over and get the bread.
Adichie is gonna like whisper something under his breath, and the tentacle is gonna lash out and snap the guy's neck who's rolling around screaming right now.
Yeah, that works. It takes pity on him and kills him, and maybe pulls him through the portal. Yeah, it disposes of the evidence in a way that makes you feel like that evidence might be good to have.
All things considered,
at least
not bad
for
bread.
him. Yeah, actually, it's amazing bread. It's fluffy, warm. It feels like it's pre-buttered.
Adichie's going around and picking up his little trinkets.
Yeah, you can gather your stuff. The goblin, the dog, and the guy who's held hostage are all looking at you guys, waiting to see what happens. And the goblin's like the first one to be like, "You're gonna kill us, aren't you? You're gonna be even worse than this. You don't our family."
Peace, peace. We
While this
do
is
not come to threaten you.
Peculiars
Well, maybe
just
he
runs
does.
over to the dog, and I just start wanting to like love on it.
Yeah, the dog definitely seems upset because it knows it shouldn't be out here. And you get that vibe immediately, like it has done badly by being captured. And so your love certainly seems to reassure it, but there's an underlying anxiety and nervousness and uncertainty to this dog. And a little bit of anger. But what are you gonna do?
So Adichie, with all of his gizmos in play around his belt now, he's going to walk over to the goblin and kind of like Slav squat, just kind of like bend down, get kind of eye to eye with him. So, what is the story here? What has happened?
These are evil men. They're evil men. They're gonna do terrible things. And they took me captured because they said I could kill dogs easily, but I don't kill dogs. I'm very bad at it.
I see. So you do not wish to kill the dogs?
No, well, I do, but I can't. They're always barking loud, and I'm a good little human boy. I don't mean any problems, and so
A good little human boy, you say?
yes.
I just conjure up an element in my hand, and I walk over. I don't know what it is, but I just walk over and say, "I don't like people that kill dogs."
What element does he conjure?
It is a dark burning flame. Something that starts out black and then turns to a like purple, and then at the tip it's like a reddish, like but a deep blood red.
He's walking over there looking all badass. I walk over and hold the bread over the fire. He's probably doesn't even notice. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, it's gonna taste so nice toasted.
Yeah, I don't like people that kill dogs.
And I'm gonna pull out my little like purple glowing one. And I'm just gonna start like fiddling with it in my hand, and it's like, and I do not like people who lie. So you are going to tell us, what were you doing out here with these bandits? How did they capture you?
I start fiddling the bread, and I'm like, I don't like Sundays.
They took me from my village. They said they needed one of my people, and that they had use of me as to scout and to find dangers before they go to the houses of other humans. They wanted me to be a scout, but then they don't pay me and they don't feed me and they hit me. We do not, says the guy who's struggling to breathe because of broken ribs and a maybe dislocated shoulder. The bandit.
I punch him in the face. We're not talking to you yet.
Do you want him to be like? Do you want it to be like a slap or like a actually break his face?
No, not lethal. Probably more of a slap.
Okay,
I'll just bop him upside the head. No, not your turn.
He shuts right up. The goblin thing says they promised to pay me, feed me, but they didn't, and they wanted me to do things I couldn't do. I'm a good scout. I can. I'm quiet as dark when I'm not talking, but they started stealing from people, and they stole more than just apples. They said we'd just be stealing apples, and that I'd be the scout for the dogs. But they want to like kill people and take them. And they have a giant pile of apples that they're making into some sort of monster.
An apple monster.
They've got a wizard dude, like a fire guy. He can't point, but he like gestures with his chin. Like they got a guy. He makes apples do things. He says, "It sounds stupid as fuck."
I want to break off part of the bread and I'll share it with my captive.
The bandit or
the
goblin?
The bandit I slapped.
Yeah, he was like.
I'm just standing over there, probably standing next to him. We're probably not right up against where they're all at. We're probably just a couple feet away.
I just intuitively hold my fire closer so they can toast it.
Yeah, you break off a piece and then toast it for the bandit.
Yeah, I toast more. I'm like, oh.
My eyes are still on the conversation, but I'm just giving them my fire.
Yeah.
Because you're water genasi, your arm extends just a little bit to fill that gap.
I love it.
So you are a scout, they say. Would you happen to know where the adult male from this household that you took this dove from was?
The bandit says he doesn't fucking know anything. Of course, you probably nudge him. The goblin says...
I pat his head and I'm like, eat your bread.
The goblin says, I do! They're on the other side of town at the bandit camp, up near the waterfalls. I could lead you there.
Up near the waterfall, you say?
Yeah.
Is that where they are building this apple monster as well?
Yeah.
I see. Peculiars. And Aslog. You remember that cart that was...
My name.
Almost.
Everyone always forgets my name.
You're a little bit scary, and they're kind of they see you, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Oslog," and then they look at your eyes, and they're like,
Even that guy over there hiding behind the tree narrating everything that's going on forgets my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the bushes that Oslog was hiding in. Yeah.
I'm pointing over there, the bushes behind me talking. I'm like, what? Anyways, what were you saying to Oslog? Sorry.
There was a apple cart that went by my tinkerer shop as we were leaving. Do you remember?
You have a tinkler shop.
For all of his tinkerlings.
Tinkering shop.
Tinkle.
It is my shop.
You guys, let's not be racist towards the lizard folk guy. He doesn't have a human tongue.
You shut up, Mr. Narrator.
Sorry, that was actually quite racist myself.
Okay, so you're asking, do we remember an apple cart going by your shop? No.
By the shop. Yep.
No.
Guess what did you learn from the apple cart?
Ooh.
Back in my notes.
My
We
notes
learned
are
that
gone.
it was going the opposite direction of the locate of where we were heading. Trying to think what else I remember.
I don't
from
remember-
last
I
week.
don't remember anything about
You
an apple
might
cart.
have remembered perhaps that there's been a problem with bandits in the apple orchards. They steal enough. I think one guy complained that the guards won't do anything when it's just a few apples, and that still cuts into their profits. People were a little bit irritable about that, I think. I hope they mentioned that to you guys in the previous session.
think
But they
they
also
did,
gave
yeah.
you directions towards. I think you asked about the family name of the kids, and
Yeah, the Johnsons.
yeah.
Johnson's farm. I see. Well, you wish to lead us to this bandit camp, you say?
Oh yeah, I'm great at leading. Well, when I know where I'm going. That's what they always said about me in my town. Sylvester, best scout. That's why my name starts with a C, just like Scout.
Is he tied up with rope, chain, tree,
Rope.
rope to a tree?
Rope to a stake. And the stake is like a thick metal stake that's stuck in the ground, and it's like it's thick rope, not like thin silk rope.
Okay.
It looks like the kind that would give you terrible burns on your arms.
Wonderful. I see. Well, Aslog, Peculiars, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, all you.
I'm gonna just walk away and
Oh.
go over to the dog, and I'm going to.
You freed the
Untie it.
dog from its like stake, right? Okay, yeah. Well, I presume that's the first thing you did was like when you went to comfort it, you got it free from the stake.
Yeah, I'm gonna untie it. I'm gonna pull out some treats that I usually have for Apollo, and just
Yeah.
some, and just pet him. And
Where'd Apollo go?
Oh, it's right by his side.
side.
Oh,
Yeah.
Of course.
He scouted out just like a goblin could,
Wait,
I guess.
he was sitting standing between your legs, so I thought it was just part of you. Sorry.
Yeah, Apollo's just like soaking wet because I'm just water. He stays like right at my side.
I was like, what'd you do? Tinkle on him?
Trying to
Smells
turn
like
him
wet
into a
dog.
genasi.
It's just one of those days. I'm a water genasi.
I will. I'll walk over and I'm gonna grab the rest of the bread from the bandit and be like, "You're done," and I'll eat it. And I'll walk over to Adichie. I'll be like, "So is this one coming with us?"
Well, let me ask you this. We already have a scout, and I kind of gesture over towards Apollo. What else can
Bark.
we do? Bark.
What else can I do?
Yes.
Well, I am good at.
Wrong answer. And I toss the pink one or the purplish one on the ground.
What does this one do?
This one, just a set of blades just come up, like demonic, like hell blades, just
Slash him to pieces.
like bisect him.
Okay, Mr. Sawtoo.
You're
I'm not
both
gonna make
so
you roll for
fucked
this
up.
because
You were criminal.
Yeah, I
It's a
just laughed at
combination.
them.
it's a combination of tinkerer and demonic magic. So,
Yeah.
And he's tied up, so he's not going to be able to defend against this. So, yeah, you roll that out, and then shink, shink, the blood is drawn to your master for whatever purpose he has with blood and corpses.
Mhm.
And the goblin is dead quite quickly, and you're both perhaps a bit shocked at your comrade, but maybe not. The bandit is like, oh god, I'm gonna die, aren't I?
I'll pick
then
goblin out of my bread.
I pick up my tinkering thing, and start fiddling with it to change it to a bluish orb.
Please, I'm not a bad person. I'm just.
I toss the bluish orb at Aslog.
No!
What does a blue orb do?
It It gives like a little bit of like a soothing, like mist sort of healing sort of thing for the cut that he received.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just over here, picked goblin out of my bread, ate bread, look up, blue ball. Oh my god!
It's the sort of thing where you're probably too drunk to even notice that blue orb
My
and
great
the mist.
reactions.
Well, yeah, it's mostly gone towards like a feeling of confidence and
Yeah.
raw power, and you do feel like
I didn't think he was gonna tentacle monster me until
You-
now.
you have enhanced reactions. That's why anytime a guy speaks, you could just throttle him in the throat with a karate chop. But it's the case that you just didn't notice it in this case.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
rolls off, and then the mist is soothing. Yeah. So your wound is taken off from you, and as it just kind of, I guess that was just a little scratch. And
I
not
just kind of
blood.
turned to get. You know that my main profession is medical devices, right?
Just looking around like I'm still alive, right?
This is not outside but the realm of what I do every day.
Peculiars. I'm not dead.
I look close. I smell you. No, you're good.
Ah, see that bandit? Not dead.
I pick up the little ball and kind of tinker it, and it turns back to a purplish hue. I put it back on my belt.
Is this bandit coming with us?
What say you?
Oh, I said, is this bandit coming with us?
I see. Peculiars.
I know what you meant. But...
I mean, personally, I don't like people walking around doing shady stuff in my woods.
Perfect.
So-
I walk over and just facepalm him and crush his skull.
Okay, yeah.
I just
He's
go,
already
"Okay."
heavily injured, and he's not expecting it, even though he kind of is accepting that that's his fate now. And yeah, you grab his skull with your enhanced reactions before he can do anything, and just crush his skull and throw his body down.
We're
We're
awful.
heroes.
I'm also surprised in my generic candy pop fantasy game that
Hellfire,
Before the
tentacle
apple harvest.
monsters, visceral
Boiling
blades, boiling blood, crushed faces. Like,
but this is all just for fun, and so that's where we'll end it. Is you guys are now traveling off in the woods further. You have a dog companion and a bonus dog companion. Yeah, you've rescued the dog. You didn't need to rescue anybody else here except for the father, but maybe next time we'll find out where the father is.
Yeah.
We'll see what this stupid Applecaster kind of nonsense is, and we'll stop the bandit problem temporarily in Happy Meadow.
There's no bandit problem if there's no bandits.
There you go. I was like, this is the time for it.
Okay.
You're good with that?
Yeah, I assumed we had like 20 minutes left to do whatever you wanted,
To do
or
whatever?
unless you wanted to call it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yes, quack.
I stand up and I walk towards him. Quack.
Wrath, we can add custom sounds to your server if you want. I can help you with that.
God, I don't know if I want this. I'm gonna be at work. My phone's just gonna be in my pocket. Quack, quack, quack. Stop it.
It's only if you're in channels and you can like moderate it and stuff. But
Oh, maybe.
could be fun.
See. I do need my Discord updated. Maybe we'll work on that. Let's wrap up with some shout outs and what's nuts to the stuff we got going on. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of projects, whole bunch of things to shout out here. So
we just killed a bunch of people, so let's just like not talk about it. Move past it. Let's bury them.
Yeah,
by the side of the freeway.
Yeah, let's
Do
embrace
some
that
shout-outs.
embrace that trauma and move forward, move on.
I didn't kill anybody.
Ignore that trauma, I should say, and move on. All right, so I'm gonna go last. Some of you guys have some of the stuff that you guys want to talk about. Why don't we start with that? Why don't Adis, why don't you pitch one thing? Because we're kind of in a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. So, join us Tuesdays for King's Crossing with Adarag, Nimwort, and the wonderful world of Arwen's Rest.
And no longer dibs.
Dibs, maybe
dibs. R.I.P. dibs.
R.I.P. Dibs.
Pickles, I don't know who that is.
But I'm respectful, and I did the right arm the first time.
Yeah, King's Crossing, absolutely. Those episodes are all up on YouTube. You can catch them over on that series. Tough Nuts.
Yeah, also check out the Baldur's Gate playthrough. We are releasing multiple episodes a week, I think. 2 episodes a week. And eventually on Twitch, that'll be replacing King's Crossing once we're done with our first adventure for a little while on Tuesday nights. So
Yeah, I think going forward from this point, right? We're only so that way we're not having to do stuff every single day, and you guys get time with your friends and families and stuff. I'm not making you dragging you into work every day. Yeah. So currently Tuesday evening 7 p.m. on the channel Eastern. We're doing King's Crossing, the second saga I call it. It's my second group. Once they've wrapped up, which will be not this week but probably next week. That Tuesday is going to be dedicated to our Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. We're going to do a bit of that, and then once we get through a bit of that, we're going to switch back and dive back into King's Crossing. So it's going to be an alternating schedule. That's what they're talking about. Mr. Pickles, let's go to you.
Yeah, I do a podcast show. Yay! The podcast show I keep talking about that I'm going to record tomorrow for our new episode.
Yes, I was just about to ask. I was like, when's the new episode?
I'm so excited. I really hope that we do end up editing or recording tomorrow so that we can then edit and then produce it. Yeah, it's called And I Took That Personally. It's a show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts where my friend Brad and I talk about movies and what we take personally and why you shouldn't watch a fantasy animated movie with tanks and Nazis and literal Adolf Hitler footage. I'd maybe stop dancing to this. That's this.
It's not good.
Like
It's not
the
good.
most absurd 1977 heavy nudity, drinking alcohol, like bizarre movie that you shouldn't watch when you're Brad at 8 years old.
You're like,
No Nazi dancing. Anyways, so we talk about movies and we have a good time and we take it really, really personally. And it's that's the show. I'm also in the King's Crossing on Sundays. That is coming back because I just finished up my adventure for the Strange Town of Golden Ridge. The finale should be coming up on YouTube soon. It was a wild time, maybe. I don't know. Okay, I don't actually. Yeah, anyways. So now I'm going to be playing Grunkle. So come back next Sunday for Grunkle time. Not next Sunday because people aren't available. But a Sunday coming in the future for Grunkle.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that. Follow all of that. I'm just going to shout out my own project. I'm in all those projects. So please partake in all of those. Enjoy all of them live on the channel or over on the YouTube. Also, I've started my own solo Stardew Valley playthrough. Basically, when my friends aren't around and I'm bored, I was like, I need something to do. And then so I decided to get back into Stardew Valley. I decided to add some mods to it, get a little modded playthrough. So I'm enjoying a single player run through of Stardew Valley. I'm hoping to make it a full series. I'm hoping to eventually get to, end game stuff. And that's something I've never done in Stardew. I have like 800 hours in the game and I've never gotten to end game stuff. So hopefully this will be the time. So yeah, that's all up on YouTube. Those are going to be daily videos. So those post every single day except Sunday. Sunday, this is something we didn't talk about. Sunday, all of our Under the Tables post. So Under the Table for King's Crossing Saga 1, Saga 2, and Strange Town Golden Ridge all post on Sundays, depending on what game is running at the time. Currently, all 3 of them post, but eventually it'll be depending on what game is currently running. So you can catch the Under the Tables there. Under the Tables are basically a post-game session review, where we review the entire campaign. It's an open table discussion where we all hang out, just kind of chit-chat, Q&A, whatever. Even chat. If you guys are in the live stream, you guys can ask questions. If you guys were watching the series or whatever and you have questions you want to ask about the players, to me, whatever, or people on YouTube, if you're watching them, you can comment and we'll bring them into the next Under the Table. I'll bring those comments over and we can discuss those there. So that's a bunch of projects, a bunch of stuff we got going on. Also, obviously, if you're watching this video, don't forget Drinks and Discussions, the Dirty Podcast or the Dirty Cast or whatever we're calling it. Those air every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Twitch channel live. Those go up on YouTube, I believe, every Saturday. So you can catch them all there. That's all I got. That's all you guys got. We're good with it.
That's
Happy
been done.
Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. If you guys weren't here for my own for the live streams yesterday, I don't know if we talked about that on Strange Channel Golden News, but I hope everyone had a really good Mother's Day. For all the mothers out there, we appreciate you. And on to bigger and better things. Yeah.
There's nothing bigger and better than my mom.
Okay, listen, that's not probably the best choice of words. On to Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
My bad. Not a great ending point. What I meant was, hang on. Bye.